Chapter 1055. Nangong Yuni shook his head and said. The two beauties looked at Yun Luofeng with resentment, as if blaming her for throwing Nangong Yuni to the ground. However, since Nangong Yuni didn't say anything, it wasn't good for them to say anything. Not long after, the waiter brought over the menu. Yun Luofeng casually ordered a few dishes and handed the menu to the waiter. The two beauties seemed to be used to it. They sat on Nangong Yuni's left and right. The woman on the left wore a green robe with a red dot between her eyebrows. She was extremely seductive. She looked at Yun Luofeng and smiled charmingly. Miss Yun, where is your husband? Why isn't he with you? I wonder what kind of expression your husband would have if he knew that you were eating with another man. Because this woman in green was beautiful, she had always been doted on by Nangong Yuni. Therefore she didn't care about Yun Luofeng. So what if Yun Luofeng was the eldest young master's friend? Could it be that the eldest young master would punish her because of a few words she said? Nangong Yuni's expression had already darkened bit by bit. His eyes were already filled with anger. His sharp gaze was like a knife as it shot towards the woman in green. However, the woman in green didn't notice Nangong Yuni's gaze and continued. Miss Yun, I'm doing this for your own good. I'm afraid that you and your husband will have a conflict, so I'm warning you. After all, if it were me after marriage, I would never go out with any man. Her words were clearly directed at Nangong Yuni. First, she was pointing out Yun Luofeng's fickleness. Second, she was expressing her unwavering loyalty. She was also telling Nangong Yuni that Yun Luofeng wasn't a good person. How could a married woman who still fooled around with men be a good woman? Hearing this, Xiaomo chuckled. Auntie, I thank you for my mother's good intentions. My father has always respected my mother. If my mother says one, he won't say two. If my mother says east, he definitely won't go west. If you slander my mother like this, I'll think that you're jealous of her. After all, my father can go to the kitchen, go to the living room, beat his love rivals and keep his chastity. With a peerless man like my father here, do you think my mother would be tempted by some womanizer? In Xiaomo's heart, Yun Xiao was an invincible existence. In this world, it was impossible for anyone to compare to him. You. The green-robed woman's face turned red with anger, but she was interrupted by little Mo before she could finish her sentence. To answer your previous question, why isn't my father here? That's because, if a peerless man like my father appears, what if he gets entangled by a shameless person like you? That won't do. You're so ugly and so old. My father will definitely not like you. You might even disgust them to the point of vomiting. The green-clothed woman was so angry that tears streamed down her face. She turned her head and looked at Nangong Yuni, feeling wronged. Eldest young master, this brat bullied me. Bully you? Nangong Yuni played with the teacup in his hand and sneered. Why do I feel like you're the one being overbearing towards a child? Is this your upbringing? The green-clothed woman was stunned. She had never thought that Nangong Yuni, who had always indulged her, would say such words. Nangong Yuni laughed mockingly. His fingers tightly grasped the green-clothed woman's chin, and his voice was cold and merciless. Chapter 1056. This little fellow is right. You're ugly and old and you think too highly of yourself. Do you know why I haven't had the pleasure of visiting you for so long? It's because your appearance makes me lose my appetite. If it weren't for your good zither skills, I wouldn't even bother to look at you. The green-robed girl's body trembled. Her beautiful tearful eyes stared at Nangong Yuni in shock. She didn't dare to believe that Nangong Yuni would say these words. In the entire Endless City, who didn't know that the Nangong family's eldest young master, Nangong Yuni, loved beauties and respected women. He was even known as the flower guardian god. He would never say anything that would hurt a woman. Yet she heard the world's most vicious words. Why aren't you scramming? Nangong Yuni shouted coldly. I feel like I'm insulting my eyes every time I look at you. Wah! The green-robed girl finally couldn't help but burst into tears. She covered her face, ran out of the private room and fiercely slammed the door. Nangong Yuni took out a handkerchief and wiped the hand that he used to hold the green-robed girl's chin. He then looked at the other beauty beside him. What are you still holding on for? Hurry up and leave. The beauty stood up, bowed and left. Before she left, She subconsciously looked at Yun Luofeng with curiosity in her eyes. The women of this world are too self-righteous. Nangong Yuni sneered and lazily leaned against the back of the chair. Especially those who overestimate themselves and want to compete with you. Do they think they're worthy? Perhaps it was because he had caught a glimpse of Yun Luofeng all those years ago, but Nangong Yuni still held a great place in his heart. Moreover, that year, he also knew that he couldn't catch up to Yun Luofeng, so he gave up on this idea. Who knew that under a lucky coincidence, they would become lifelong friends? So, Nangong Yuni believed that a man who could make Yun Luofeng willing to stay with him for a lifetime was definitely the best of all men. He really felt that he couldn't compare. Yun Luofeng calmly took a sip of tea. Haven't you always liked beauties? You let them go just like that? How can those women compare to you? Haven't you heard of this saying? Women are like clothes, brothers are like limbs. Although you are a woman in my heart, you are my only brother. For you, I can give up any woman. Nangong Yuni used his fist to hit his chest and solemnly vowed. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. Women are like clothes? Her voice was filled with threat, causing Nangong Yuni's body to tremble. How could he have forgotten that the person in front of him was also a woman? This cough. Nangong Yuni awkwardly coughed twice. I'm talking about the two women I just chased away. Besides, it's true that I like beauties, but I've always kept my chastity, so they didn't suffer any losses. That was the truth. Due to Yun Luofeng's understanding of Nangong Yuni, he also understood that this man wasn't the hedonistic and dissolute person he portrayed himself to be. His flirtatiousness was only on the surface. In fact, he was a very responsible fellow. Yuni, tell me, how did you come to this place? Yun Luofeng put down his teacup and raised his eyebrows. When Nangong Yuni heard this, his stomach filled with anger, and he resentfully glared at Yun Luofeng. Isn't it all because of you? It's all because of you that the laboratory exploded. Immediately after, I woke up and became the Nangong family's young master. Fortunately, my face didn't change, so you recognized me at a glance. Chapter 1057. The two of them had gone through thick and thin together in their previous lives. With just one glance, they could recognize each other in the vast sea of people. Oh right, Yun Luofeng, can you explain to me what exactly is going on? Hearing this, Yun Luofeng subconsciously turned to look at little Mo. She raised her eyebrows slightly. She naturally understood that little Mo had something to do with Nangong Yuni's transmigration. However, the treasury of medicine was very important to her. No matter how much she trusted Nangong Yuni, she would never tell him about it. Thinking of this, Yun Luofeng pondered for a moment. I'm the same as you. After I woke up, I came here. As for what happened, I don't know. Nangong Yuni was a little depressed. Looks like it won't be so easy to leave this damned place. Yun Luofeng smiled slightly. I don't think there's anything wrong with this mainland. Since we're here, let's make the best of it. What we need to do now is to survive in this mainland. In the past, Yun Luofeng came to this mainland from China alone. Now that she had met Nangong Yuni, she felt like she had met an old friend in a foreign land. Haha! Nangong Yuni laughed out loud. Since we're here, let's make the best of it. This sentence is right. I won't continue to worry about it. As long as we continue, we'll eventually return to China. Oh right, Yun Luofeng, I haven't seen you here before. Did you just come to Endless City? Yun Luofeng took a sip of tea. That's right, this is indeed my first time in Endless City. If that's the case, then I'll give you a simple explanation of the powers in Endless City. Nangong Yuni leaned lazily against the back of his chair, crossed his arms and said with an unruly smile, there are a total of 3 great families in Nangong City. Unfortunately, the Nangong family that I belong to is one of them. If anyone in Endless City bullies you, come find me. I'll bring my men to avenge you. I'm the young master of the Nangong family after all, so I still have that bit of power. However, Nangong Yuni paused, then continued. If you meet the people from the medical tower, remember to take a detour. Yun Luofeng, who was originally enjoying her tea, almost choked when she heard Nangong Yuni's words. She put down her teacup, wiped the tea from the corner of her mouth, and glanced at Nangong Yuni strangely. Why do I have to take a detour when I see the medical tower? Nangong Yuni glanced at Yun Luofeng. You came too late. You don't know what happened in Endless City recently. I heard that the medical tower's tower master is a vicious and merciless demoness. Fortunately, Yun Luofeng wasn't drinking any water right now. Otherwise, he would definitely have sprayed it all over Nangong Yuni's face. She and little Mo looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. She devil. Yun Luofeng turned to Nangong Yuni and asked. Nangong Yuni nodded his head. It's said that the demoness strength is extremely powerful, comparable to a giant dragon. She has incomparable strength, and her appearance is strangely ugly. Her temper is eccentric. If you accidentally provoke her, quickly run for your life. Otherwise, before I can bring people to save you, you will die at her hands. Yun Luofeng blinked blankly. Unparalleled strength? Extremely ugly? When did these rumors start spreading? Nangong Yuni clearly did not see the confusion in Yun Luofeng's eyes. He continued. Furthermore, this demoness flattened the mountain where the Defiance bandits were at with 1 foot yesterday. In one breath she completely annihilated the bandits. Of course this is only a rumor. I also know that it's an exaggeration. However, the fact that she was able to annihilate the Defiance bandits proves her strength. Chapter 1058. Little Mo couldn't help but cough. His small face turned red and he almost laughed. So, in the eyes of the world, his master was actually so terrifying. So much so that they were afraid of her existence. Yun Luofeng's mouth twitched. I won't provoke anyone for no reason. She originally wanted to tell Nangong Yuni why she came to Endless City. But now that she heard these words, she didn't know what to say. Fortunately, she closed her mouth and didn't say anything. That's good. Nangong Yuni sighed in relief. He raised his hand and rubbed Yun Luofeng's head. When you were in Huaxia, you often fought with people because of a disagreement. But it's different now. On this mainland, danger lurks everywhere. If you're not careful, you'll lose your life here. Yun Luofeng's face was serious. Don't worry, I'm not that impulsive person anymore. Now I won't casually hit people. Then I'm at ease. Nangong Yuni's heart relaxed. But just as he finished speaking, there was a bang and the door to the private room was smashed open. What followed was a mocking voice. Nangong Yuni, so you're here too. Now that this young master wants to use this private room, you immediately. Bang! Before he finished speaking, a teacup appeared in the air and instantly smashed towards the young man who appeared at the door. The man didn't even have time to react before the teacup smashed into his face. Immediately, blood flowed from his nose, turning it bright red. Dry mouth. Yun Luofeng slightly raised his eyebrows. A cold light flashed in his evil eyes. Why haven't you left yet? Nangong Yuni was stunned. Didn't she just say that she wouldn't casually hit people? Didn't she just say that she wasn't an impulsive person? What was this? The other person didn't even say a word and she directly made a move? She didn't even give the other person time to react. But Nangong Yuni slammed his palm on the table. Beautifully done. Motherfucker's patience. Facing this kind of person, you have to beat them until they're convinced. Wu Shi. Nangong Yuni turned to the young man who appeared at the door. He raised his chin and said in an unruly tone. You want me to give this private room to you? Dream on. Get lost. Don't force me to make a move. Wu Shi wiped the blood from his nose, and his eyes turned red. He said angrily. Nangong Yuni, you're just an illegitimate child of the Nangong clan. Yet you dare to make a move against this young master? Men, capture these two for me. Let the Nangong family go get them. The Nangong clan and the Wu clan had always had a bad relationship. Now that he had the chance, he would definitely not let these two people go. Bang! Yun Luofeng picked up another teacup and threw it at Wu Shi. This time Wu Shi was completely prepared. She leaned to the side, wanting to avoid the sudden attack of the teacup. However, the teacup seemed to have eyes of its own. It tilted along with his body and finally smashed hard on the bridge of his nose, causing him to cry out in pain. I'll count to 3. Disappear. Otherwise, none of you can leave. Yun Luofeng said expressionlessly as he swept a glance at Wu Shi. Wu Shi glared fiercely at Yun Luofeng. You won't let us go. Could it be that you want to treat us to tea? Hearing this, Yun Luofeng didn't waste any more words. She took out a dagger from her sleeve and aimed it at Wu Shi's heart. 1. The girl's voice was lazy and evil. It was like a demon from hell, causing people to feel an inexplicable sense of fear. Chapter 1059. 2. The dagger in her hand was already aimed at Wu Shi's heart. As soon as the third number came out, she would immediately throw it. Wu Shi's expression changed greatly. He quickly ran out of the room and disappeared without a trace in just a second. The Wu family's guards saw their young master leave and also hurriedly left, afraid that the dagger in Yun Luofeng's hand would fall on them. It seems like evil people really need evil people to grind them down. Nangong Yuni smiled and shook his head. Whether it's in China or this mainland, provoking you is equivalent to provoking a demon. Indeed, evil people needed evil people to grind them down. If you were kind, he would only bully you even more. But if you were more ruthless than him, he would be afraid of you. What's with the illegitimate child he mentioned just now? Yun Luofeng put away the dagger and raised her eyebrows at Nangong Yuni. Don't tell me you're so miserable, possessing an illegitimate child's body. No wonder this guy wanted to return to China so much. Nangong Yuni's face was full of helplessness. Come to think of it, the Nangong family's patriarch, who is also the father of this body, met my mother first. Moreover, the two of them even secretly tasted the forbidden fruit. Originally, my father wanted to marry my mother, but the Nangong family's current matriarch schemed against my father all those years ago. After drinking, they had an affair. She even falsely accused my mother of having an affair with someone else. My father believed it, so he left my mother. All these years, my mother has always been living outside. It wasn't until she passed away not long ago that I was brought back to the Nangong family. That's how I got the title of illegitimate child. Yun Luofeng's finger lightly tapped on the table. When she raised her head, she inadvertently saw the hatred in Nangong Yuni's eyes. Clearly, after coming to this mainland, Nangong Yuni already had deep feelings for his mother. Naturally, he would bear a grudge against the instigator of this matter. You want revenge? Yun Luofeng glanced at Nangong Yuni and asked. Nangong Yuni nodded. Yes, I want it very much. That man made such a huge mistake. Even if he treated me well now, it wouldn't be able to appease my hatred for him. However, before my mother passed away, she kept muttering his name. I also want to send him to accompany my mother, but I know that if I kill this man, she will definitely not be happy in the underworld. What's more? Nangong Yuni paused. That man only expressed his apologies for my disregard for all these years. From beginning to end, he never expressed any guilt towards my mother. He also never went to her grave to offer a stick of incense, so I can never forgive him. Obviously, even until now, the Nangong family's patriarch still believed that Nangong Yuni's mother had an affair with another man. Thus, from the beginning to the end, he had not been willing to see her. Nangong, I will help you. Yun Luofeng lightly held Nangong Yuni's hand. I will make the person who framed you and your son pay the price. Not only was Nangong Yuni her best friend from her past life, he was also the only person in this world who understood her past. Therefore, she would not let anyone hurt him. Forget it. Nangong Yuni shook his head. The Nangong family's influence is too strong. I'm still not their opponent. I don't want to be a burden to you. However, give me a few more years. As long as I have a few more years, I will definitely reach the pinnacle of the Nangong family and avenge her. Chapter 1060. Yun Luofeng didn't say anything else. She had already made up her mind. She wouldn't let go of anyone who had harmed Nangong Yuni. The sun was setting. Yun Luofeng and Nangong Yuni said goodbye at the entrance of the restaurant. Just as she was about to turn and leave, a woman in a green dress appeared in front of her. That woman was staring at her with hatred and jealousy. You're a married man, yet you don't follow your womanly ways and seduce a man. Do you think that by seducing the Nangong family's eldest young master, he will give you his heart? What a joke. Eldest young master has a woman he deeply loves. No matter your identity or status, you can't compare to the woman in eldest young master's heart. The woman Nangong Yuni deeply loved? Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows slightly. It seemed that this guy had met the woman he loved on this mainland. But why hadn't he mentioned this before? Yun Luofeng's eyes turned and she looked at the woman in green with a smile that wasn't a smile. What kind of person is the woman in his heart? She wanted to understand Nangong Yuni's situation. and know if she could help him. The woman in green snorted coldly. The woman eldest young master loves is the eldest daughter of the O family, one of the 3 great families. If it weren't for the fact that eldest young master is a bastard and has a low status, the eldest daughter of the O family would have agreed to marry him long ago. The eldest daughter of the O family is very outstanding. You can't enter eldest young master's heart. Yun Luofeng's face darkened and a cold light flashed in his narrowed eyes. Low status. The woman in green was stunned. She didn't understand what Yun Luofeng meant. Yun Luofeng slowly walked towards the woman in green. You want to get on the boat of Nangong, but you think that his status is low as a bastard? Suddenly, Yun Luofeng reached out and tightly grabbed the woman in green's neck. The woman in green's expression changed and turned pale. She looked up at Yun Luofeng with eyes full of fear. If I hear you say that his status is low again, I don't mind letting your head fall to the ground. Get lost. Yun Luofeng raised his hand and flung the woman in green away. The green-robed woman coughed and staggered up from the ground. She no longer dared to offend Yun Luofeng and hurriedly left. Master, little Mo turned to look at Yun Luofeng. It seems that this Nangong Uni is truly a tragedy. In your past life he confessed to you and was beaten up by you. Afterwards, he fell in love with the department's beauty, but before he could confess to her, he was dragged to this mainland by you. Who would have thought that even after coming to this continent, his relationship would still be fruitless? The woman he liked despised his identity. Hearing little Mo's words, Yun Luofeng was silent for a moment before saying, It's too early to speak. If the eldest young lady of the O clan is also loyal to the Nangong clan, but she has to give up because the O clan doesn't agree to it, then I'll do my best to help her. Little Mo curled his lips in disapproval. Little Mo, let's go back. I want Greenwood to investigate the O clan. After saying this, Yun Luofeng walked toward the medical tower. At this moment, Yun Luofeng had no idea that in one day, the medical tower had become famous for thousands of miles. Even the cities near the Endless City knew of the existence of the medical tower. As a result, countless doctors had rushed over to join the medical tower. Because of this, when Yun Luofeng returned to the medical tower, he saw that the main door of the medical tower had been blocked by a stream of people. Yun Luofeng wanted to cut through the crowd, but at this moment, a hand reached out from the side and fiercely pushed him. Cut the queue? Hurry up and line up at the back. Chapter 1061. Caught off guard, Yun Luofeng took 2 steps back. Her eyes narrowed, and her pitch-black gaze landed on the young man who had just pushed her. This man was quite handsome with delicate features. When he saw Yun Luofeng's gaze, his face reddened and he said awkwardly, Don't look at me like that, it's clearly your fault. So many of us are queuing up, but you're the only one who wants to cut the line. Instantly, everyone's gaze fell on Yun Luofeng, their eyes full of blame. Little girl, this is your fault. How could you cut the line for no reason? That's right, we've already queued up for an entire afternoon to get into the medical tower. Why did you cut the line? These people's unbridled criticism made little Mo's heart fill with anger. He glared fiercely at the person who had reprimanded Yun Luofeng. Just as he was about to speak, a hand suddenly stretched out in front of him, blocking him. The young girl smiled, her demonic black eyes staring deeply at the young man. Her slightly lazy voice rang out under the setting sun. Your name? The young man was stunned. Mu Chu. Mu Chu? The smile in Yun Luofeng's eyes deepened. The fickle Mu Chu. Mu Chu's face turned red again, and the anger in his eyes surged. My admiration is a longing, not a fickle one. Just as the crowd was swarming in, Qingmu squeezed his way out of the medical tower. When he saw Yun Luofeng surrounded by the crowd, he was stunned for a moment, then quickly walked over. Miss Yun, you're back? Miss Yun? Whether it was Mu Chu or the others, they were all stunned by the way Qingmu had addressed her. They had originally thought that Yun Luofeng had come to register with them. They had never thought that she had originally belonged to the medical tower. Yun Luofeng nodded slightly. She pointed at Mu Chu and smiled evilly. Master Qingmu, bring this guy to my room to see me. Yun Luofeng still maintained her initial respect towards Qingmu, which was why she had addressed her as master. Because of this, the people who had originally been suspicious of Yun Luofeng's identity were dispelled. Although they had heard that the tower master was a young woman, it was impossible for her to be the one in front of them. If she was the tower master, she wouldn't have called Qingmu master. Mu Chu watched as Yun Luofeng left. He clenched his fists tightly by the side of his legs, and a look of struggle flashed across his eyes. Let him meet her in her room? This woman was stunningly beautiful, but she was actually a big, but he had no other choice. For the purpose of his visit, he had no choice but to sacrifice his body. Thinking to there, Mu Chu deeply breathed in and slowly followed Greenwood into the medical tower. The others looked enviously at Mu Chu as he left. Even though they did not know the relationship of this young woman, they could imagine that she had quite a bit of status in the medical tower. If they could obtain her favor, their status in the medical tower would also rise. It seemed that it was better to be a young and handsome man who could walk a path of no return. For people like them, they could only fight with their lives on the line. Medical tower. Mu Chu silently followed behind Greenwood. In the end, he could no longer suppress his curiosity and asked, Master Qingmu, where are you taking me? Greenwood turned to look at Mu Chu. Miss Yun has already said that she wants you to see her in her room. Naturally, I'm taking you to see her. Chapter 1062. But Mu Chu looked at the winding staircase. This is already the 8th floor. As far as I know, if we go any higher, we'll reach the medical tower's owner's territory. Every floor of the medical tower represented an identity. For example, the 8th floor was where the elders lived. If they continued up, they would reach the tower's owner's residence. Mu Chu couldn't help but feel suspicious. Could it be that this woman had some sort of relationship with the medical tower's owner? Qingmu coldly laughed. Don't ask so many questions, just follow me. As he spoke, he continued to walk up the stairs. Seeing this, Mu Chu didn't say anything else, and hurriedly followed the 9th floor. After reaching the door, Qingmu stopped and turned to look at Mu Chu. Miss Yun is waiting for you here. Go in and see her. Mu Chu's expression froze and he clenched his fists. He was so nervous that he was sweating profusely, and his breathing was a bit ragged. As if he had made up his mind, his hand slowly fell on the door, and he gently pushed it open. He had expected that Yun Luofeng would be lying on the bed, her body covered by a thin veil, and that she was using a soul-attracting technique on him. As for him, he was even more prepared to sacrifice himself. However, when he saw the scene in the room, he couldn't help but stare blankly at the door. Within the room there was an unruly aura. The young woman was lazily lying on the chaise longue, an evil aura emanating from her. Her clothes were as white as snow, and she looked arrogant and domineering. Her hands were crossed on her thighs, and her eyes seemed to smile as she looked at Mu Chu, who was standing in the doorway. Mu Chu gritted his teeth, and forced himself to calm down as he walked in. Bang! Qingmu slammed the door shut, causing Mu Chu to break out in cold sweat. His expression became more and more awkward, and his fingers uneasily gripped the hem of his clothes. I know why you've called me here. Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows. Then why don't you tell me why I've called you here? Mu Chu's expression was somewhat unsightly. If I'm not wrong, your position in the medical tower is very high, and you're even on good terms with the medical tower's owner. As long as you let me join the medical tower, I'll do anything for you. Yun Luofeng's eyes narrowed. Suddenly she laughed. That smile of hers was nothing more than that. Under Mu Chu's momentary shock, Yun Luofeng raised his left hand slightly. Whoosh. Countless vines sprouted out of the room and bound Mu Chu's body tightly in an instant. Mu Chu's face turned even paler. He had been prepared to sacrifice himself, but he never thought that the one he met would be a pervert. Yun Luofeng slowly walked towards Mu Chu, only stopping when he was in front of him. His devilish eyes slanted up and down as he chuckled. Your body is too shriveled and you don't even have a pack of abs. You have a serious lack of nutrition, and your appearance is too ordinary. You wouldn't be able to find me in a crowd. Why do you think I would be interested in your body? Mu Chu's expression froze once again. Although he was not the most handsome man on the mainland, he was still extremely handsome and delicate. However, in her words, he had become ordinary. Indeed, to Yun Luofeng, who was used to seeing Yun Zhao's face, any man was too ordinary to her. Furthermore, Yun Luofeng swept her gaze over Mu Chu. Just by looking at your body, I can tell that you're definitely lacking in the bedroom. I wouldn't go looking for trouble with a man like you. Chapter 1063. Cold sweat trickled down Muchu's forehead. He tried to break free from the vines, but the vines were too tight, and he couldn't break free. What on earth do you want? Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin and asked with a smile. Tell me who sent you here? Muchu was stunned and fear flashed across his eyes. You? What are you talking about? I don't know. Back then, the Wu family had come to the medical tower and I had seen the attendants that the master of the Wu family had brought with him. But not long ago, I saw you walking with one of the attendants on the street. Muchu raised his head in astonishment and stared at Yun Luofeng. His uncle had indeed brought people to the medical tower, but he had actually remembered the appearance of one of his uncle's attendants? She had even determined his identity from this? This woman was really terrifying. That's right. Muchu laughed bitterly. I was sent by the Wu family and the master of the Wu family is my uncle. Many years ago, my family was attacked by enemies and only my sister and I managed to escape. In order to survive, my sister and I came to the Wu family to seek refuge with my uncle. But I never thought that when my parents were still alive, my uncle would treat my sister and me like his own children. When my parents passed away, I had to become a guard in the Wu family to ensure that my sister and I could live. This time, when my uncle heard that there was such a big commotion at the medical tower, he forced me to sneak into the medical tower and take the opportunity to steal the prescription from the medical tower. Initially, I didn't agree to do this, but the funny thing was that he locked my sister up and forced me to come here. I had no other choice but to come here. Muchu's expression was very pained. For the sake of his sister, he would kill himself without hesitation. Furthermore, my sister is seriously ill and needs to take medicine every day. If I don't get the prescription back, he won't treat my sister. I really have no other way out. Yun Luofeng's black eyes quietly fell on Muchu. Do you think that I will sympathize with you? Muchu was stunned and the expression on his face was very helpless. He had thought that his words would make this woman sympathize with him. Who would have thought that she would have such a heart of stone? Looks like I can't escape death this time. If he died, his sister would not be able to live either. Muchu, I have nothing to do with you and your sister. I will not sympathize with you and I will not help you. I never care about people who have nothing to do with me. I don't need sympathy either. In this world, the only people she cared about were her family. Her heart was very small, so small that it could only accommodate the people around her, but not the entire world. Muchu's expression was a little anxious. Miss Yun, I know you have the power. Please save my sister. As long as you save her, I, Muchu, will work for you for the rest of my life. Yun Luofeng laughed. With your strength, do you think you have the qualifications to work for me? If she hadn't discovered it in time, she didn't know what would have happened. Hence, she wouldn't have let her off so easily. Miss Yun, my power is low and I certainly don't have the right to work for you. However, I am willing to use my life to block all dangers for you. I only ask that you save my sister. A stream of tears flowed down from Muchu's eyes. His gaze was like that of an abandoned wolf cub. Right now he was still young and didn't have much attacking power, but once he grew up, he would definitely become a ferocious beast. Chapter 1064. Because of the look in his eyes, Yun Luofeng's interest was piqued. If this wild beast was nurtured well, perhaps it would be of help to her. If I ask you to kill the Wu family, would you be willing? Yun Luofeng raised his brows at Muchu and asked. Muchu was stunned. He had not expected that Yun Luofeng would make such a request. Thus he fell silent. After a while he replied, all these years, the Wu family has always treated us siblings as servants. I've also suffered many beatings and cold. If it weren't for the Wu family, I would have starved to death on the streets, and my sister would have died of a serious illness. No matter how heartless and unjust the Wu family is, they have given me and my sister a way out. Thus, I can only promise you that if the Wu family becomes your enemy, I will stand on your side. On the other hand, I will not kill the Wu family. Even though he was eager to save his sister, he was not willing to be ungrateful. He also knew that if he said these things, Yun Luofeng would not help him. Thinking of this, Muchu closed his eyes. A trace of pain appeared in his eyes. Sister, I'm sorry, I'm useless and can't save you. Suddenly the vines binding his body retreated. His body loosened and he fell from mid-air, landing heavily on the ground. Muchu opened his eyes in astonishment and looked at the white-clothed girl standing in front of him in confusion. "Miss Yun Yu?" Yun Luofeng's lazy smile turned cold. "The Wu family sent you to steal the medical books, which indirectly proves that they want to become enemies with the medical tower. When that time comes, I hope that you can fulfill your promise and kill the Wu family." Muchu sighed helplessly. Based on the Wu family's personality, they would definitely want to occupy the medical tower. When that time comes, he would definitely shed all pretense of cordiality with the Wu family. Also, Yun Luofeng paused and continued, "If you want me to help you, you must prove your abilities to me. There is a dragon pool outside this endless city, and there is a giant dragon guarding it. If you can retrieve a dragon scale from the giant dragon, I will help you and your sister. After all, I will not accept useless people." Muchu's expression was determined. "I will definitely retrieve the dragon scale." This was his only hope of saving his sister. "Take this pill," Wang Yao said. Yun Luofeng took out a pill from his lapel and handed it to Muchu. Muchu took the pill and swallowed it without hesitation. "I don't trust you too much. That's why I use this pill to control you." Yun Luofeng's gaze turned towards Muchu once again. "Tell me about your sister's condition." Muchu hesitated. "Why do you want to know this?" "Only by knowing the illness can we prescribe the right medicine. While you're gone, I'll take care of your sister in secret. However, your mission this time has a time limit. You must return within half a month." The young girl's words caused Muchu's eyes to brighten. "Miss Yun, thank you for taking care of my sister." "That's right, I still don't know what relationship Miss Yun has with this medical tower?" What he wanted to ask was what was the relationship between Yun Luofeng and the tower master of the medical tower. "Ha ha." Suddenly, a tender laughter sounded from the side. It was unknown when fire had appeared, but her small body was sitting on the beam, swinging her legs, a smile on her jade-carved face. "Idiot, since my master is here, then she must be the tower master of the medical tower." Chapter 1065. Like a bolt from the blue, Muchu's body trembled as if he had been struck by lightning. This young girl was the tower master of the medical tower? Heavens, he had actually told the tower master not to cut the queue? Thinking of his previous actions, Muchu felt so ashamed that he wanted to find a hole to hide in. Yun Luofeng looked at Muchu. "You only have half a month, why aren't you leaving?" Hearing this, Muchu no longer hesitated. He hurriedly opened the door and ran downstairs. He was afraid that if he was late by an hour, Yun Luofeng would change his mind. After all, this medical tower was his last hope, and he couldn't give it up. "Miss Yun." After Muchu left, Greenwood walked in and laughed. "No, in the future I can't call you Miss Yun anymore. I should call you Tower Master." Yun Luofeng waved his hand. "In the outside world, just call me like before. Also, go and find someone for me." "Who?" "The O family's eldest daughter." Greenwood's speed was very fast. In just a short while, he had already sent the news about the O family's eldest daughter. At this time, Yun Luofeng had already left the medical tower and had returned to the house that Greenwood had bought in the western part of the city. The O family's eldest daughter is called Oya and is the #1 genius in Endless City. She's not as beautiful as Nangong Lan from the Nangong family. At most she's a delicate beauty, but she's the dream lover of countless men. Her elegance and nobility has attracted many men. It's said that many men have fought over her. Yun Luofeng frowned. "That's not what I want to know, but what I want to know about her character." "This?" Greenwood hesitated for a moment. "I don't know yet. After all, I only know what she's like." "Tower Master, why do you want to know about Oya?" Yun Luofeng laughed. "Nothing much, a friend of mine has taken a fancy to Oya. I just want to understand the situation." "That's right. Have you heard about what happened between Oya and Nangong Uni?" Greenwood looked at Yun Luofeng strangely, but still answered his question. "Nangong Uni likes Oya. This is something that everyone in Endless City knows. As for Oya, she hasn't said anything, nor has she rejected him. I don't know what's going on either." "Didn't say anything?" Since he didn't say anything, it was a form of rejection. It seemed that after coming to this continent, Nangong Uni would still suffer from emotional pain. Just as Yun Luofeng was about to continue investigating the situation, a familiar voice suddenly came from outside the door. Yun Luofeng, it was really not easy for me to find you. Now that I'm here, why aren't you coming out to welcome me? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. Speak of the devil. Greenwood, I'm going to see an old friend. Chow Chow. Greenwood rubbed his head. Who was this Chow Chow? An old friend of the pagoda master? Inside the courtyard, Yun Luofeng saw the man walking over quickly from afar. The smile in his eyes gradually melted as he greeted him. Nangong, how did you find this place? Nangong Uni chuckled and flipped the hair on his forehead handsomely. What kind of person is this young master? With a pinch of his fingers he calculated your location. Is that so? Did you calculate whether you would fall today? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes and smirked. What a joke, how could this young master possibly know how to wrestle? Chapter 1066. After saying this he wanted to strike a cool pose, but at this time a leg tripped him from the side. He was caught off guard and tripped, falling head first. Yun Luofeng nonchalantly retracted his leg and shrugged. Looks like your finger pinching isn't too accurate. Nangong Uni crawled up with his face covered in dirt and looked at Yun Luofeng resentfully. Yun Luofeng, you really are ruthless. This young master inquired for so long to find this place, and you actually treat me like this. Speak, what did you come to find me for? Yun Luofeng asked straightforwardly. Nangong Uni's gaze became even more resentful. 3 days from now is my birthday. I specially came to find you, and you actually gave me such a big greeting gift? Birthday? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and smiled. What gift do you want? I'll go find it for you. Nangong Uni blinked. I want a spirit beast, can you give it to me? Spirit beast? Yun Luofeng muttered to himself for a while and nodded. Wait a few days, I'll go find it for you. Haha. Nangong Uni laughed loudly and put his arm on Yun Luofeng's shoulder. Good brother, you're very kind. Then I'll be waiting for your birthday present. Nangong Uni never doubted Yun Luofeng's words. This woman always did what she said. As long as she said it, she would definitely do it. Of course, that was for her own people. Facing enemies, when did she ever keep her words? Enemies were meant to be tricked. First of all, I don't want a weak spirit beast. The spirit beast I want should at least be at the sky spirit realm. Nangong Uni's words were very impolite. What a joke. With his relationship with Yun Luofeng, what was there to be polite about? 3 days. 3 days from now, I'll bring your birthday gift to the Nangong family. The spirit beast she planned to give to Nangong Uni must be very outstanding. How could the strength of the sky spirit realm be enough? Nangong Uni patted Yun Luofeng's shoulder. Then I'll wait for you at the Nangong family. You must come. 3 days passed in a flash. During these 3 days, there was still a long line outside the medical tower, and the popularity was no less than before. Countless doctors from far away came, causing the western part of the city to become incomparably lively. However, during these 3 days, Yun Luofeng seemed to have disappeared. He no longer showed his face in the western part of the city. Except for a few people, no one knew where she was. Amidst the lively atmosphere in the western part of the city, another piece of news came out, causing the already noisy western part of the city to immediately burst into an uproar. The Nangong family was going to help an illegitimate son hold a birthday party? This was simply a disgrace to the ancestors. Even if this illegitimate son had already acknowledged his ancestors, he would at most be a bastard son. Since ancient times, there had never been a birthday banquet held for a bastard son. Because of this, one could see how much the Nangong family head doted on his illegitimate son. After all, after Nangong Lan was born, the Nangong family did not have any children. They had countless concubines in the backyard and none of them were pregnant. In addition, Nangong Lan was a woman, so this illegitimate son was quite favored by the Nangong family head. At this time, the Nangong family was brightly lit. Servants and servants were busy going in and out, making it very noisy. Countless horse carriages stopped outside the Nangong family and walked in with smiles on their faces. No matter how much they disdained Nangong Uni, this illegitimate son, they had to give face to the Nangong family head. Chapter 1067. The Nangong family. In the courtyard, Nangong Yuni was looking outside, as if he was waiting for someone to arrive. When Nangong Qing saw his son's actions, a light flashed in his eyes. He slowly walked to his son's side and gently asked, Are you waiting for someone?" Nangong Yuni nodded, but his eyes never looked at his father. His gaze was on the crowd outside the courtyard, searching for a familiar voice. Suddenly, a peerlessly beautiful face was reflected in his eyes. His eyes instantly lit up and he quickly walked out to welcome her. At the entrance of the Nangong family, the crowd saw Nangong Yuni quickly approaching and hurriedly made way. From start to finish, Nangong Yuni's gaze did not look at anyone else. He walked to Yun Luofeng's side and naturally placed his arm on her shoulder. "Yun Luofeng, you're finally here. I thought you were going to stand me up." Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows and smiled. "I will definitely do what I promised you." "Haha." Nangong Yuni laughed and curled his lips. "Come, I'll bring you in." The crowd once again made way, allowing Yun Luofeng and Nangong Yuni to pass through the crowd. However, when they saw how Nangong Yuni treated Yun Luofeng, they could not help but guess the identity of this woman. Young Mississippi behind the crowd, a luxurious carriage came to a stop. The servant girl stretched out her hand, and a moment later, a hand as fair as jade reached out from the carriage. With the servant girl's help, the person jumped down from the carriage. The servant girl glanced at Nangong Yuni's departing figure, her expression somewhat angry. Didn't this young master Nangong often pester young miss? Why is it that on his birthday today, the person he specially waited for isn't young miss? Nangong Yuni was only a bastard son. His status was low, and his young miss would never accept him. However, the young miss did not accept him as the young Mississippi. How could Nangong Yuni ignore his young miss for another woman? Oya's elegant eyebrows tightly knitted. Her indifferent eyes glanced at the servant girl next to her and said, "Don't talk nonsense in the Nangong family. It is said that the Nangong family's patriarch loves Nangong Yuni very much. So, if you say something wrong, it will certainly destroy the relationship between the O family and the Nangong family." "Yes, miss." The maidservant curled her lips, still feeling a little indignant. "However, miss, this servant has long heard that the eldest young master of the Nangong family is unrestrained and dissolute, with countless women in his arms. From what this servant can see, that white-robed woman is only one of those women who curry favor with those in power. I really don't know what kind of taste eldest young master Nangong has, to actually not wait for eldest miss for such a woman." Oya stared at the noisy Nangong family without batting an eyelid. "So what if he can wait for me? It's destined to be impossible between me and him." "That's true." The servant girl raised her chin proudly. "Eldest miss, you are so noble. How can a bastard match you? Even if this bastard son is doted on by the Nangong family head, he is still a bastard son. Those old fellows of the Nangong family will never let him inherit the throne. The person that my young miss marries must be a dragon or phoenix among men. Nangong Yuni is not worthy of eldest Mississippi. Let's go." Oya paused, then said, "After all, it was father who asked me to attend the birthday banquet today. So, even if I don't like Nangong Yuni, I must still stay here." Chapter 1068. With that, Oya strode elegantly into the Nangong family's banquet. In the banquet hall, Yun Luofeng had just walked in when he bumped into a girl in green. When the girl saw Yun Luofeng, she was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but cry out, "It's you." Hearing this, Yun Luofeng raised his head. In an instant, a beautiful face appeared in his line of sight. The girl in front of him was extremely beautiful and her expression was calm. Even when she saw Yun Luofeng, other than the initial surprise, she didn't show any other emotions. She even smiled in return. "I didn't think we would meet again." Nangong Yuni extended his hand and shielded Yun Luofeng behind him. He looked at Nangong Lan with vigilance. Nangong Lan sneered, "Big brother, look at how nervous you are. It's not like I'm going to eat her up. Speaking of which, you have so many women around you but you've never been nervous about any of them. Could it be that this girl is more important than Oya in your heart?" Nangong Yuni loved Oya deeply. This was no secret in Endless City. Thus, it was no wonder that Nangong Lan would say such a thing. Who knew that when faced with Nangong Lan's question, Nangong Yuni would snort disdainfully, "Oya can't be compared to her." It was true that he liked Oya. However, if Oya wanted to become Yun Luofeng's enemy, he would definitely stand by her side regardless of everything. Nangonglan smiled. She glanced at Oya, who was walking into the banquet hall, and the corners of her lips curled into a smile as if her scheme had succeeded. Oya seemed to have heard Nangong Yuni's words. Her expression was very calm, without any fluctuations. On the contrary, the servant girl beside her was furious. Her eyes glared fiercely at Yun Luofeng and Nangong Yuni. In her heart, she angrily cursed the adulterous couple. Nangong Yuni, this idiot, actually said that his young miss couldn't be compared to that woman? How could a beautiful vase who fawned on the rich and powerful compare to his young miss? Nangong Yuni clearly saw Oya appear behind him. His expression suddenly changed. At this moment, he realized that he had fallen into Nangong Lan's trap. Oya had never accepted him. Now, it was even more impossible for him to make her accept him. However, he didn't regret it, because these words were the truth in his heart. Yun Luofeng patted Nangong Yuni's shoulder and raised her head to look at Oya. When she saw Oya, her pupils shrank. She finally understood why Nangong Yuni was so deeply in love with Oya. Because Oya's appearance was very similar to his girlfriend in China. She was also the prettiest girl in Huaxia University. You know? Nangong Yuni bitterly laughed. When I first saw Oya on this continent, I couldn't help but want to get close to her because the two of them are too similar. I couldn't control myself. Yun Luofeng lowered his eyes and consoled warmly. Don't worry, I'll think of a way to let you go back. However, you have to be clear that the two of them are not the same person. Nangong Yuni nodded as a smile appeared on his handsome face. I understand. He had fallen into a trance, but no one could pull him up. Now, Yun Luofeng's appearance was like a rope that pulled him ashore. At this moment, Nangong Qing, who was receiving guests outside, heard the commotion and quickly walked in. Or what's going on? Nangong Yuni raised his head and looked at Nangong Qing. He curled the corners of his lips in an unruly manner. Nothing much, I'm just making arrangements for my friend. Yun Luofeng, you'll be sitting in the first row in a moment. Chapter 1069. Big Brother. Nangong Lan's expression slightly changed. The two seats in the first row are for the Wu family. Only the O family has the qualifications to sit there. Nangong Yuni turned his head and swept a glance at her. Didn't the Wu family not come? Just happened to have an extra seat. Give it to my friend. At this moment, Nangong Lan's expression was very ugly. In this banquet, her seat had already fallen to the fifth row. If she let Yun Luofeng sit in the first row, wouldn't that mean that he was suppressing her? Father. She hurriedly looked at Nangong Qing and opened her mouth, wanting to say something. Nangong Yuni snorted. He held the back of his head in a sloppy manner and held a straw in his mouth. This is my birthday, so I have to decide how to arrange it. If you don't agree, then there's no need for this birthday banquet to continue. You can all leave now. After saying this, he threw away the straw in his mouth and turned to Yun Luofeng. I also don't want to stay in this Nangong family. If they can't even properly arrange for my friend to come here, then why should I stay? Yun Luofeng, didn't we say before that we were going to travel north and south of Great Chuan? Why don't we take this opportunity to experience it? Everyone knew that Nangong Yuni of the Nangong family, besides being lustful, was a downright hedonistic son of rich parents. However, the Nangong family's master doted on him, so he condoned all of his unreasonable behavior. Sure enough, hearing this, Nangong Qing frowned, looked at Nangong Lan reproachfully, then turned his gaze to Nangong Yuni and gently said, This is your birthday banquet, you should indeed be the one to decide where you want her to sit, it's all up to you to arrange. Hearing this, Nangong Yuni smiled. He winked at Yun Luofeng, as if showing off his power. Let's go. He pulled Yun Luofeng's arm and walked towards the first row. Nangong Qing looked at their departing figures, lost in thought. Miss. The O family servant girl stamped her feet, feeling indignant. This Nangong Yuni is too much. He actually let that woman sit with you, miss. What status does she have? Does she have the qualifications to sit side by side with miss? A lowly woman who fawns on power. She's simply tarnishing Miss Nobility. How could a woman who befriended Nangong Yuni be anything good? Friend? How could there be pure friendship between men and women? He was clearly trying to absolve himself of his beastly behavior. Oh, you didn't say anything. Her cold gaze fell on Yun Luofeng, and a cold light flashed across her beautiful eyes. No matter who saw a man who had once pestered them set his eyes on another woman, they would not feel good in their heart. Even if she did not love this man. Master. At this time, just as Yun Luofeng and Nangong Yuni walked to their seats, Little Mo's annoyed voice came from their soul. This Nangong Yuni really has a problem with his eyesight. He actually fell in love with such a hypocritical woman. This woman is no different from Nangong family's Nangong Lan. No matter how low the O clan's maid's voice was, it could not escape Little Mo's ears. So when he heard those people insult Yun Luofeng, he was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Even the small tree had already extended its vines to the ground, preparing to use these vines to kill people. Moreover, he had stopped them in time. Otherwise, the people of the O clan would have died here. He didn't like the people of the O clan, but he didn't want Nangong Yuni's birthday banquet to become a blood banquet. Chapter 1070. Yun Luofeng took a sip of tea. Who Nangong Yuni likes, that's his own business. As a friend I can keep an eye on him, but I can't make decisions for him. Even if the woman he likes is trash, it has nothing to do with me. As a friend he couldn't interfere with the feelings of the other person. It was like this in the previous life and it was the same in this life. Nangong, Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and looked at the man beside him. I think your father treats you well. Nangong Yuni sneered. He treats me well because I'm his only son. This guy values boys more than girls. No matter how strong Nangong Lan is, he's not willing to give the position to her. He paused and continued. Moreover, on the first day I came back, he wanted me to inherit the position, but I wasn't interested in his Nangong family, so I deliberately acted like a playboy. Sure enough, seeing that I was so useless, he didn't mention the matter of inheriting the position for the time being. But this is not a long-term solution. Once I inherit the Nangong family, Nangong Lan and her people won't let me go. If he hadn't deliberately acted useless, Nangong Lan and her daughter wouldn't have kept him alive until now. Perhaps he would have already gone to the underworld. Sometimes being a playboy was also a protective color. Fortunately, you're here now. Nangong Yuni's gaze turned to Yun Luofeng. Your ability has always been stronger than mine. I also believe that as long as you're here, I will live. You believe me like that? If I don't believe you, who else can I believe? Yun Luofeng, you're the only person I can trust in this world. Yun Luofeng was silent. Over the years she had encountered many enemies. Now there was an even stronger Tianhui Empire waiting for her. If she let Nangong Yuni stay by her side, she would definitely drag him down. It seemed that she had to help Nangong Yuni settle the matter here as soon as possible and then leave. Oya gradually walked to the seat and gracefully sat down. It was as if she ignored the existence of Yun Luofeng and Nangong Yuni. From beginning to end, she didn't even look at the two. The servant girl sneered, her face full of sarcasm. Miss, there are always some people in this world who like to curry favor. Women like you, who rely on their own strength, are more worthy of respect. With her own strength? Yun Luofeng raised the corner of his lips. Isn't she relying on her father? You. Anger flashed across the maid's face. She took a deep breath, suppressing the anger in her heart. She turned her gaze towards Nangong Yuni. Young Master Nangong, did you not see this woman bullying my young miss? Nangong Yuni frowned, turned his head, and continued to chat with Yun Luofeng. The maidservant's face turned even more ashen. She could not believe that this man who liked to follow behind the young miss would have a change of heart so quickly. Xiao Meng, Oya calmly glanced at her maidservant and spoke with an expressionless face. This is the Nangong family home and that lady is young Master Nangong's guest. Don't be too presumptuous. Yes, Mississippi, the maidservant lowered her head and answered unwillingly. Father. In the midst of the noisy crowd, Nangong Lan's clear voice sounded out. For Big Brother's birthday this time, I have specially prepared a precious gift for him. I hope Big Brother will like it. She lifted her hand and patted it lightly. In an instant, four guards carried a cage and walked into the courtyard with difficulty. Chapter 1071. In an instant everyone's gazes were focused on the cage, including Nangong Qing. What is this? It's actually being carried in a cage? I see that the cage is constantly shaking, it should be alive. Alive? Could it be a spiritual beast? Everyone was shocked. Spiritual beasts were very difficult to obtain. To tame a spiritual beast, not only did one need to spend a lot of effort, one also needed to have enough power. Nangong Lan had actually brought a spiritual beast as a birthday gift. It seemed that Nangong Lan really treated her elder brother extremely well. Following Nangong Lan's orders, the guards put down the cage and lifted the red cloth covering it. Immediately, a huge red lion appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The lion's entire body was blood red, and it was incomparably ferocious. However, the violent lion was actually lying docilely in the cage, like an obedient kitten. Heavens, it's the king of the forest, the blood lion. This blood lion is very precious. Young Master Nangong has obtained a treasure this time. Nangong Lan said with a smile, I spent several months taming this blood lion. My goal is to give it to Big Brother, so that Big Brother's safety can be guaranteed. Nangong Qing looked at his daughter and a complicated look flashed across his eyes. Logically speaking, Nangong Lan was very powerful and outstanding. Giving the Nangong family to her was the best choice. Unfortunately, Nangong Lan was a daughter. How could a woman take on such a heavy responsibility? Women could only be subordinates. They could not step on men's heads. Father, Nangong Lan's smile deepened. Previously, I met this friend of Big Brother's and I even fought over a spiritual beast with her. She must know that Big Brother likes small animals like spiritual beasts, so she stole the spiritual beast to please Big Brother. After speaking, Nangong Lan turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Miss Yun, I wonder if you brought that spiritual beast? Nangong Yuni frowned. Just as he was about to explode in anger, a hand reached out from the side and pressed down on his arm. The young girl lazily leaned against the back of the chair, and her lips curled into a devilish smile. It seems like the Nangong family's young miss has a bad memory, causing her to forget what happened a few days ago. If that's the case, you should find a doctor to treat you as soon as possible. Nangong Lan's expression did not change as she smiled. Miss Yun, what do you mean by that? Firstly, when we were fighting over the spiritual beast that day, I had already said that the spiritual beast was a gift for my disciple. Secondly, I did not take away the spirit beast, it chose me. These words did not make Nangong Lan angry. She still had a smile on her face. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. I thought you wanted to fight for the spiritual beast because you wanted to give it to my big brother. However, this can't be blamed on you. After all, in your heart, my big brother isn't as important as your disciple. Yun Luofeng's evil eyes glanced at Nangong Lan, then faced Nangong Yuni. He took out a ring from his lapel and handed it to him. This is my gift for you. See if you like it. Spatial ring? Poochie. Looking at the gift that Yun Luofeng had taken out, everyone present could not help but laugh out loud. Haha, I'm dying of laughter. She actually took out a spatial ring to give to Sir Nangong? That's right, based on her status, the most precious item she could take out would be a spatial ring. Chapter 1072. That's right. In the eyes of the commoners, a spatial ring is already a rare treasure. However, to the Nangong family, they don't lack spatial rings. She definitely can't take out anything decent, so she used a spatial ring as a congratulatory gift. The corners of Nangong Lan's lips curled up into an arc. A mocking expression appeared on her elegant face. A spatial ring? The person who took out such a gift was definitely not someone of high status. Thus, her father could clearly see what kind of friends Nangong Yuni had made. However, Nangong Qing was not as angry as Nangong Lan had imagined. His eyes were filled with excitement as he stared at the ring that Yun Luofeng had gifted Nangong Yuni. This ring, according to the legends, is a ring that can store a spiritual beast. After a long while, Nangong Qing's trembling voice rang out. In an instant, the people who had been mocking Yun Luofeng were all stunned. According to the legends, a ring that can store a spiritual beast? This ring is a spiritual beast ring? Could it be that this lady had already guessed that Miss Nangong's gift would be a spiritual beast, so she conveniently used this ring as a gift? A spiritual beast ring is indeed precious, but Miss Nangong's gift is still more practical. Thus this time she lost to Miss Nangong. Yun Luofeng acted as if he did not hear the mocking voices and shrugged his shoulders. I found this ring while I was searching for a gift for you, so I conveniently bought it for you to see if you liked it. What she meant was that this spiritual beast ring was not a gift she had given to Nangong Uni. She had just conveniently bought it? Nangong Uni returned to his senses. He looked at Yun Luofeng and suddenly understood something. He put the ring on his own finger. Soon after, his finger gently stroked the ring. Immediately, a ray of light was reflected from within the ring. It was a brilliant white light. Within the white light, a blurry figure gradually appeared. It was a small sable. Its body was as white as snow, and it had a unique purple tail. Its agate-like purple eyes rolled around randomly. It was clever and frightening. This small sable had a pair of wings on its body, like the feathers of an angel, pure white and clean. A small sable? A mocking laugh came from within the crowd. This small sable is at most suitable for acting cute. It simply cannot fight. It can't compare to Miss Nangong's blood lion. Nangong Uni slowly walked to the front of the small marten and indifferently said, "To me, no one can compare to this small marten. Because this spirit beast was a gift from Yun Luofeng. No matter how powerful the blood lion was, it was not as important as this little sable." The small marten looked disdainfully at the person who had just ridiculed it. It lifted its short legs and walked elegantly towards the caged blood lion. Roar! When the blood lion saw little marten approaching it, it let out a warning roar. There was a slight tremor in its voice, but no one could tell. "Young lady Nangong, release your blood lion and show this little marten what it's made of." The man continued to ridicule her. It was obvious that he did not care about this cute little marten at all. The small marten snorted and slowly walked in front of the blood lion. It raised its head and arrogantly looked down at the blood lion. The blood lion finally felt fear. Its large body hurriedly took a few steps back. Its body trembled violently, as if the seemingly harmless small marten was some kind of ferocious wild beast. When they saw this scene, the people who had been ridiculing it immediately choked back their words. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Chapter 1073. Did they see wrongly? The mighty and strong blood lion would be afraid of a small sable? Dual-winged sable. Nangong Qing's voice became even more excited. This is a rare spirit beast, the dual-winged sable. Furthermore, this sable's strength should be at the venerable spirit beast realm. At this moment, everyone's expressions were very interesting. Their faces seemed to have been dyed with green and purple. Nangong Uni laughed out loud and placed his hand on Yun Luofeng's shoulder. "Yun Luofeng, you're really a good friend. I only asked you to give me a holy spirit beast. I didn't expect you to give me such a big surprise." Compared to Yun Luofeng's purple-tailed sable, what was the blood lion? Nangong Lan's eyes flashed and she smiled towards Yun Luofeng. "Miss Yun, you are indeed my big brother's best friend. This time I admit my defeat. I wonder if Miss Yun can tell me where you caught this purple-tailed sable? I also want to try my luck." "I think it's better for you to save your blood lion first," Yun Luofeng said with a light smile. Nangong Lan's expression suddenly changed. "What do you mean by that?" "What I mean is that your blood lion has been poisoned. It won't live for long." From the moment the blood lion was carried up, Yun Luofeng had sensed that something was wrong with it. This blood lion wasn't really tamed, it had been poisoned. The poison made it powerless. It could only lie in the cage and wait for death. Even when it roared at the small sable, it didn't have enough strength. It was clear that it was beyond cure. Also, Yun Luofeng paused. This poison has made this blood lion powerless now, but not long after, it will become abnormally ferocious. Anyone who gets close to it will be bitten to death. Nangong Lan's face paled. She tried her best to suppress the fear in her heart and said with a trembling voice, "What do you mean? Someone wants to harm my Nangong family? But my Nangong family has never made enemies with anyone. Why would they want to use me to harm my Nangong family members?" After Nangong Lan said this, everyone else also calmed down. That's right, who would be so daring to make a move against the Nangong family? There are so many doctors here, but none of them noticed this. What is a little girl like, you know? Hearing these people's words, Nangong Uni's complexion became even more unsightly. He snorted and said, "You guys didn't discover anything. That proves that your learning skills aren't good enough. All of you are useless." "We're useless?" An old man flew into a rage. "Young Master Nangong, we didn't bicker with you because of Patriarch Nangong. Yet you dare to slander us like this? Yes, our skills are not good, so we can't see anything. However, I've long heard that Oya of the O clan is proficient in medical skills at such a young age. Even many famous grandmasters who have been famous for many years admit that they are inferior to them. Now that Miss Oya is here, why don't we invite her to take a look? In an instant, many gazes landed on Oya. Oya put down the chopsticks in her hand and slowly stood up. Her movements were elegant and she exuded an air of nobility. It seems that for the sake of the Nangong family, I'm here to check if this spiritual beast has really been poisoned. In front of everyone, Oya walked to the blood lion's cage. She lowered her body and carefully observed the blood lion in the cage. After a while, she stood up and shook her head. This spiritual beast is very healthy. It doesn't have any illness. The crowd was in an uproar. Words of ridicule once again shot toward Yun Luofeng like knives. Chapter 1074. We've already said that there's no problem. Now that even Miss Oya has said so, what else do you have to say? Could it be that all of us doctors can't compare to you? Yun Luofeng smiled slightly and lifted his head to look at Oya. Have you heard of the mad beast disease? Oya nodded. This mad beast disease is an incurable disease. If a spirit beast contracted this disease, it must be put to death. Then what about the symptoms of the mad beast disease? Yun Luofeng continued to ask. Oya muttered to herself for a moment. Spirit beasts that contract this disease will not have any symptoms in the early stages, but in the later stages, they will suddenly go crazy and are extremely afraid of wind and water. If they encounter these two things, they will go crazy and attack humans. It's not that there are no symptoms in the early stages of the mad beast disease, it's just that you can't feel it. Yun Luofeng smiled evilly. Also, if you encounter a spirit beast that is infected with the mad beast disease and take its saliva and mix it with a few other herbs, it will produce a deadly poison. Clearly, this blood lion was infected with this poison. Oya was stunned. Symptoms in the early stages of the mad beast disease? I've never heard of it. When the others heard this, they hurriedly agreed. It's not only Miss Oya who hasn't heard of it, we haven't either. You must be talking nonsense. Master, don't believe this woman. Yun Luofeng swept a glance at the old man who spoke. If you don't know, that means you're ignorant. You. The old man was so angry his face turned green. You dare say I'm ignorant? Let me tell you, I joined the medical tower a few days ago. There are so many medical books in the medical tower, but none of them have this symptom. Even if you invite the master of the medical tower, she will still think you're talking nonsense. Medical tower? Yun Luofeng slightly narrowed her eyes. It seems that the medical tower's security needs to be stricter. We can't let just anyone enter the medical tower. The old man sneered. I relied on my own strength to enter the medical tower. If your medical skills are really powerful, why can't you even enter the medical tower? This only proves that you're just a liar. Yun Luofeng didn't say anything more to the old man. She turned to Nangong Yuni. Go get a bowl of water. Nangong Yuni understood what Yun Luofeng was going to do next. He nodded and hurriedly walked out of the banquet hall. Before he left, he subconsciously glanced at Nangong Lan. If this blood lion was really poisoned, it could only mean that even if he was a useless hedonist, Nangong Lan would not let him off. A moment later, Nangong Yuni carried a basin of water and walked in. He silently walked to the front of the cage and poured the water over the blood lion's head. The entire banquet hall was silent. Everyone stared at the cage without blinking. No one noticed Nangong Lan's pale face. Roar! When the clear water entered his body, it seemed to aggravate the blood lion's condition. He crazily hit the cage, and his originally docile eyes became extremely ferocious, and his pupils were blood red. In the banquet hall, there was no other noise other than the sound of the blood lions hitting the cages. Everyone remained silent, and their gazes changed from the initial surprise to a complicated one. The blood lion had really gone crazy. Yun Luofeng was telling the truth. What a joke. They were just laughing at her. When they thought of the words they had said, they all wanted to find a hole to hide in. It was better than being here and making a fool of themselves. Oya's face darkened. She clenched her fists tightly, and her cold gaze swept towards Yun Luofeng. Chapter 1075. She had been outshone by someone of the same age. This was a humiliation she had never suffered in her entire life. One day she would get it back with interest. Who was it? Who poisoned my blood lion? Suddenly a furious roar rang out. After Nangong Lan shouted those words, she quickly walked in front of Nangong Uni. 2 streams of tears flowed down from her eyes. Big brother, I've let you down. I didn't look after the blood lion properly, and allowed someone to take advantage of it. Don't worry, I'll find out who framed you and get justice for you. Her tear-stained face made it impossible for anyone to associate her with the culprit. Nangong Qing's face darkened and he said coldly, Lana, very few people can come into contact with your spiritual beast. How could you not know that someone poisoned you? Nangong Lan shook her head. I don't know what happened either. From what I see, it's impossible for anyone to come into contact with this spiritual beast. Father, you must find out the truth and avenge Big Brother. Master. A few elders in the clan couldn't stand it any longer. They stood up and said, Young lady had good intentions, but who knew that she was being used? Perhaps the person who wanted to harm her was young lady. He didn't know that young lady wanted to give the blood lion away. Master, young lady is also a victim. Don't blame her. Her feelings for eldest young master are so sincere. Now that this matter has happened, she will be more upset than anyone else. Nangong Qing's expression gradually softened. Lana, leave first. It's best if you find out the truth as soon as possible. Otherwise, don't blame me for not recognizing you as my daughter. Nangong Lan lowered her head and clenched her fists tightly. Yes, father. Your daughter will obey. After saying this, she raised her head. Her gaze seemed to inadvertently sweep across Yun Luofeng's face before she turned and walked out the door. The moment she turned around, the hatred in her eyes could no longer be hidden. Her gaze was ferocious. Yun Luofeng. First, you stole my spiritual beast. Now you caused my plan to fail. I won't let you off. Nangong Qing smiled as he looked at Nangong Uni. With a gentle voice he said, I've frightened you. Go and rest with your friend. Father will help you with this matter. Nangong Uni nodded. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, Yun Luofeng's voice suddenly came from the side. Nangong, this blood lion was given to you as a birthday present. Wouldn't it be a pity if you don't take it? Nangong Uni stopped and blinked his eyes. But it's been poisoned. Even if I keep it, it won't recognize me. Give me a moment. After Yun Luofeng finished speaking, she slowly walked towards the blood lion. A few silver needles appeared in her hand, and she quickly inserted them into the spirit beast's body. The originally restless blood lion suddenly quietened down and stood quietly in the cage, not moving an inch. Use the plague flower, blood spirit grass, golden ginseng, heavenly heart fruit, and a drop of this blood lion's blood to make a medicinal soup. Feed it for 3 days and it will recover. Yun Luofeng said these words to Nangong Qing. After she finished speaking, she walked towards Nangong Uni. The corners of her lips curled up slightly. It's getting late. I should leave now. I'll send you off. There's no need. Yun Luofeng shook her head. Nangong, with the protection of these 2 spiritual beasts, your safety is no longer a problem. After she finished speaking, she did not look back and gradually disappeared into the night. Chapter 1076. The next day. Dawn. On the first floor of the medical tower, in a spacious hall, many doctors stood there, looking at each other. They had no idea why Qingmu had summoned everyone so urgently. At that moment, no one noticed the snow-white figure in the corner. The young girl leaned lazily against the wall, smiling as she looked at the doctors. It's you. At that moment, an old man finally noticed Yun Luofeng's presence and cried out in surprise. Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows as she looked over. Suddenly she laughed. Was this what it meant to be enemies on a narrow road? The gray-robed old man in front of her was the doctor who had mocked her at the Nangong family's house last night. So you've already joined the medical tower? The old man harumphed. No wonder you were so confident yesterday. However, it's only been a night, and we don't know if the medicine you gave to the Nangong family's leader will work. Perhaps the old man's voice had attracted the attention of the crowd, but when those who had seen Yun Luofeng at the entrance of the medical tower heard the argument between the two of them, they couldn't help but look at the old man in sympathy. They didn't know the relationship between Yun Luofeng and the medical tower. but they could see the respect that Master Qingmu had for her. But this old man dared to speak to her like that? The old man ignored the sympathetic gazes and continued to speak arrogantly. Little girl, if you know what's good for you, you'd better apologize to me. After all, with my medical skills, I'll at least be able to become an attendant in the medical tower. Perhaps when that time comes, you'll even have to work for me. If you apologize, I'll even promote you. You're blocking my view. Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows. Move aside. What did you say? The old man flew into a rage. You don't know what's good for you. If you fall into my hands in the future, I won't let you off. In the future? No. Yun Luofeng shook her head. We don't have a future. As she spoke, the green-robed Qingmu appeared in her line of sight. She hurriedly returned to her original position and glanced at Yun Luofeng proudly. Everyone, Qingmu coughed dryly. These past few days, many people have been guessing who the tower master of the medical tower is, because it was only for registration, and the tower master was rather busy. He didn't appear. This time the registration has basically ended, so there are a few things that the tower master will personally give instructions for. Pagoda master? Everyone's eyes were filled with excitement. They wanted to know if the legendary pagoda master was really as powerful as the rumors said. Master Qingmu, when will the tower master appear? A young man suppressed the excitement in his heart and asked hurriedly. Qingmu was startled and said, Isn't the pagoda lord already here? What? Hasn't she told us who she is? Then, he turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Thus, the other people's gazes also followed him and landed on Yun Luofeng. The gray-robed old man was stunned. He couldn't wrap his head around what was happening. He didn't understand why Grandmaster Qingmu was looking at Yun Luofeng. Just as his face was filled with shock, the snow-white robe floated past him and slowly walked towards Greenwood on the high platform. The girl's fine black hair fluttered in the wind. Her smile was lazy and evil. Her deep, black eyes gradually fell on the crowd. Her eyes were filled with arrogance and confidence. It was so dazzling that no one could look away. The gray-robed old man's mind went blank as he stared at the young girl standing next to Greenwood. His expression was simply marvelous. Chapter 1077. Qingmu. Yun Luofeng extended her hand in front of Qingmu, and a stern look flashed across her demonic eyes. Qingmu understood what she meant and placed a document in front of Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng took the document and flipped through it. Her lips curled into a small smile. Lin Yu became famous at the age of 12. After becoming famous, he despised his mother for being a burden and abandoned her. For the sake of power, he did not hesitate to cling on to the eldest daughter of the governor's family, and used a scheme to win her heart. However, when his power surpassed the governor's family, he immediately wrote a letter of divorce and abandoned his wife and son. Yun Luofeng closed the document and glanced at the pale, gray-robed elder with her demonic eyes. She smiled faintly. Last night, you claimed that you were extremely talented, and that even the medical tower would fight to recruit you. Just now, you even claimed that you would become a protector after entering the medical tower. But why should the medical tower keep someone like you who would disregard his own family for the sake of power? The gray-robed elder's face turned even paler as he stared at Yun Luofeng in horror. In such a short period of time, had the medical tower managed to investigate his background so thoroughly? What was the origin of this medical tower? You. Who are you? Up until now, the gray-robed elder still could not believe that this young girl whom he had mocked and ridiculed was the legendary tower master of the Chinese medicine tower. Yun Luofeng glared coldly at the gray-robed elder. I was the one who established this medical tower. Who do you think I am? Boom! Like a bolt from the blue, the gray-robed elder's body trembled violently and he stumbled back. Initially, he had threatened Yun Luofeng that if she wanted to stay in the medical tower, she would have to apologize. Who would have thought that this young girl was the tower master of the medical tower? When he thought of what he had just said, he wished that he could bang his head against the wall and die. It would be better than to embarrass himself here. Initially, I thought that they did not set up any barriers and that any doctor could enter. Now it seems that this is very inappropriate. Yun Luofeng's lips curled slightly as her demonic eyes stared coldly at the gray-robed elder. Qingmu, be careful in the future. Those who wish to enter the medical tower must first investigate their character. If their character is not up to standard, the medical tower will not accept them. Qingmu nodded. Then this Lin Yu. Expel him. Yun Luofeng's thin lips parted slightly, but the words that came out were very heartless. Lin Yu's expression changed completely and he roared angrily. My medical skills are renowned on this mainland, yet you want to chase me out? If I leave, it will be the greatest loss to your medical tower. At the end of his speech, Lin Yu's voice grew louder and louder. He was so agitated that his spittle flew everywhere. I'm sorry. I don't think that not having you is a loss to the medical tower. There was a smile in Yun Luofeng's eyes. Besides, if we want powerful doctors with the ability of the medical tower, we can also cultivate them. Not having you is nothing. Qingmu frowned when he saw that Lin Yu's face was turning increasingly ashen, but he did not leave the medical tower. He shot a look at the guard next to him. Throw this old thing out. From now on, the medical tower will not allow him to enter. No, you can't do that. Lin Yu stumbled back. Before he could struggle, two guards grabbed his body and threw him violently out of the way. With a bang, his body slammed heavily outside the door. The residents of the West City looked around curiously. Their gazes made Lin Yu's expression turn even uglier. He dusted off his trousers and rose to his feet, glaring fiercely at the people in the medical tower. Chapter 1078. If you lose me, you'll regret it. After saying this, he left without looking back in the Tower of Medicine. There was complete silence, so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. The crowd did not even dare to breathe too loudly as they carefully observed the situation. Since you've joined the Tower of Medicine, from now on you're all my people. Yun Luofeng raised his brows and spoke in an arrogant and domineering manner. I only have a few requests. Number 1, you must never abandon the Tower of Medicine. Number 2, you must not leak any of the medical books in the Tower of Medicine. Number 3, no matter where you go from now on, as soon as the Tower of Medicine summons you, you must rush back even if you're 1,000 miles away. Can you do this? Yes. The crowd's voices were high and rang throughout the entire Tower of Medicine. She did not make them work for the Tower of Medicine, nor did she restrict their freedom. She had only stated these 3 conditions. All right. Yun Luofeng's dark eyes were deep and gloomy. His peerless features were curled into a smile and his tone was as domineering as ever. As long as you're willing to abide by these 3 conditions, the Tower of Medicine will not sit idly by no matter what difficulties you encounter. The crowd fell silent once again. Everyone's eyes were fixed upon Yun Luofeng without blinking. Out of all the organizations, how many would be willing to help their subordinates solve their problems? However, Yun Luofeng had made them such a promise. It was no surprise that this promise was very tempting. As a member of the Tower of Medicine, you can enjoy all the benefits of the Tower of Medicine. Of course, you must use medicinal herbs to exchange for these benefits. Furthermore, there will be an assessment every month. Those who pass the assessment can enter the next level of the Tower of Medicine. The higher the level, the more benefits you will enjoy. Lin Yu had just said that based on his power and reputation, he would certainly be one of the higher-ups of the Tower of Medicine. Actually, his words were very wrong. In the Tower of Medicine, everyone is equal and everyone has equal opportunities. I don't care how famous you were previously or how powerful you are. If you want to enter the next level, you must pass the assessment. The young girl's voice no longer had her usual languid tone, but it easily stirred everyone's hearts. She had said that everyone has equal opportunities? Does that mean that anyone has the chance to climb to the top? The Tower of Medicine's assessment does not just test your power, but also your character. What right does a treacherous person like Lin Yu have to climb to the top of the medical tower? That's why I said that all of you have equal chances. She didn't care about how strong these people were before, because she had the ability to raise people with low talent. In addition, Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow and swept his gaze over everyone. As a benefit for joining the medical tower, I will gift each of you a spirit beast. Spirit beast? These words shocked everyone. They looked at Yun Luofeng, and their breathing quickened. Just as their eyes were filled with anticipation, Yun Luofeng had already summoned the spirit beasts he had gifted them. Everyone was dumbfounded as they stared at the gold-seeking mice that covered the entire first floor of the medical tower. This is the gold-seeking rat? The gold-seeking rat's strength had always been very low. Did the pagoda master intend to give them this gold-seeking rat? No, that's not right. These gold-seeking rats are all at the heavenly spirit realm? Celestial spirit practitioner? How is this possible? Gold-seeking rats would never achieve much in their lives, so how could they become celestial spirit beings? Chapter 1079. Those who could not believe it hurriedly released their soul power, wanting to probe the strength of the gold-seeking mice. When they found the result, their expressions changed from the initial shock to shock. Are they really celestial spirit stage gold-seeking mice? Oh my God, am I dreaming? Did the Tower Master just say that he's giving us these celestial spirit stage gold-seeking mice? Everyone's breathing unconsciously tightened, their eyes filled with excitement. These gold-seeking mice are indeed spiritual beasts for you. But, Yun Luofeng paused, then continued, I'll make it clear to you in advance, other than protecting your safety, the gold-seeking mice also have another purpose, and that is to monitor you. The excited crowd quietened down at these words, and everyone looked at Yun Luofeng in confusion. The gold-seeking mice's purpose was to monitor them? Since there was such a purpose, why did Yun Luofeng say it out loud in front of them? You've all seen the things in my medical tower. If it were you, would you feel at ease giving these medical books to others? Yun Luofeng smiled faintly. As long as you don't betray the medical tower, and don't sell the medical books to others, the gold-seeking mice's surveillance will lose its effect, and can only exist to protect you. But if I find out that someone has gone back on their word... Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes, a dangerous light flashing across her black pupils. Then I'll make you regret joining my medical tower. Boom! Yun Luofeng's hand slammed onto the table beside her. Under the force of her attack, the entire table turned into powder, which drifted into the air. Her action completely frightened the crowd. They gulped, knelt on the ground as if they had discussed it beforehand, raised their middle fingers and made a firm vow. We will never betray the medical tower, nor will we give the medical books to outsiders. All right, I hope you can keep your promise. Yun Luofeng retracted her hand and smiled faintly. Don't challenge my temper. The consequences are not something you can bear. This was what it meant to use both kindness and power. She could give them the most precious gift, but at the same time, she would make them understand the price of betraying her. As long as they did not betray the medical tower, she would definitely protect them to the end. Once they betrayed her, she would make them fall from heaven to hell. Qing Mu, give them the token. Yun Luofeng's voice sounded slowly. Greenwood nodded and took out the token from his space ring. This is a command medallion that only our medical tower has. Right now, you're all only on the first level, so the word 1 is written on the medallion. Once you've passed the examination and entered the second level, I'll give you a new medallion, Greenwood said as he smiled. Moreover, this medallion has another effect. If you cultivate with this medallion, it will increase your cultivation speed. Only when you become stronger will our medical tower become stronger. At this moment, Yun Luofeng didn't expect that a few years later, the token of the medical tower would become the symbol of a doctor. The token on the first floor represented the identity of a grade 1 physician. If one didn't possess a grade 3 token or above, he would be too embarrassed to call himself a physician. Greenwood, come with me, Yun Luofeng said lazily as he glanced at Qing Mu after the tokens were given out. All right. After Qing Mu agreed, he saw Yun Luofeng turn around and leave. He didn't hesitate to follow. Chapter 1080. Yun Luofeng walked into the room and sat on a chair. She picked up a cup of tea and took a sip. Send someone to follow Lin Yu. He shouldn't have left the West City yet. Qing Mu was stunned. Tower Master, are you suspecting that Lin Yu is trying to harm the medical tower? Yun Luofeng shook her head. Do you think that the Wu family was the only one who sent someone after such a huge commotion at the medical tower? That's why I'm sure that Lin Yu is related to the O family. Qing Mu narrowed his eyes. The O family? Tower Master, why are you so sure that it's the O family and not the Nangong family? Yun Luofeng smiled. Because I know the young master of the Nangong family. That Nangong guy is a typical blabbermouth. If he was sent by the Nangong family, I would have heard it from him. All right. Qing Mu nodded. I'll send someone to follow Lin Yu now. The Wu family and the O family. It seemed that the commotion at the medical tower had attracted many people. Outside the West City on a barren mountain, Lin Yu looked around nervously as if he was looking for something. Suddenly, a green figure descended from the sky and landed on the ground. When he saw the figure descending from the sky, a look of joy appeared on Lin Yu's face. "Miss Shadowless, you're finally here." Shadowless looked at Lin Yu coldly. "How did you do what my master asked you to do?" Lin Yu lowered his head with a hint of guilt in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Miss Shadowless. I wasn't able to enter the medical tower." "Why?" Shadowless's gaze turned even colder. "I heard that as long as you want to join the medical tower, you'll definitely be able to enter. Why didn't you?" "This." Lin Yu wiped the sweat off his forehead. "Previously, the tower master of the medical tower and I had a dispute over medical skills. At that time I saw that she didn't know much about medical skills, so I kindly gave her some pointers. Who knew that she wouldn't appreciate it at all and even scolded me? Who would have thought that she was the tower master of the medical tower? This kind of person's medical skills can't be compared to yours. She was just lucky enough to obtain a few medical books and use them to swindle people." Lin Yu did not dare to reveal the real reason and could only add fuel to the fire, pushing all the blame onto Yun Luofeng. Otherwise, if he were to let these people know that he couldn't enter the medical tower because of his arrogance, they would definitely not let him off so easily. "Follow me, my master is waiting for you." Shadowless glanced at Lin Yu coldly before turning around and walking into the depths of the dense forest. Lin Yu finally heaved a sigh of relief. If it had not been for the sake of joining them, he would not have taken the risk to enter the medical tower. Who would have thought that he would provoke Yun Luofeng before he could even enter? Lin Yu scoffed coldly. "You're just a small tower of medicine, yet you dare to be so arrogant. If you lose me, it will definitely be your loss. As for me, without the medical tower, there are better forces waiting for me." Then he hurriedly chased after Shadowless. At this moment, Lin Yu was completely unaware that a figure was hiding in the forest, secretly observing everything that was happening. After they left, that person turned around and disappeared into the forest of the Dragon Swamp. After receiving the guard's report, Yun Luofeng became silent. It seems that other than the Nangong clan and the O clan, there are other forces keeping an eye on the medical tower. I wonder where these forces are from. Chapter 1081. Greenwood looked at Yun Luofeng. "Tower Lord, I think that there might be spies among the doctors who have joined the medical tower. Should we find a way to lure them out?" "Lure them out?" Yun Luofeng smirked. "Don't you think that's too troublesome?" Greenwood paused. "If we don't lure them out, it'll be bad for the medical tower." Yun Luofeng lazily leaned back in her chair and smiled evilly. "There's no need for that. If we want them to give up on the medical tower, there's a more convenient way." "What way?" "It's very simple, which is make the Wu family and the O family disappear. Or make them our own." Greenwood was completely dumbfounded. Lure out the spies? So she wanted to find out where these spies came from? In this world apart from her, who else could say such domineering words? Greenwood subconsciously wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. "Tower Lord, isn't that more troublesome?" "Greenwood." Yun Luofeng raised her eyes and looked at Greenwood. "You must understand, if you kill one spy, another will come. The best way is to become stronger. In this mainland where strength is everything, as long as you have enough strength, who would dare to target you?" Greenwood fell silent. Yun Luofeng was right. The only way to solve this problem once and for all was to become more powerful. Spies could not be completely eliminated. Only by becoming so strong that no one dared to target the medical tower would there be no more spies. "I'm tired." Yun Luofeng stretched lazily. "You can leave first." Greenwood could only bitterly laugh. Perhaps he really was getting old and couldn't see things as clearly as a young man. After taking one last look at the exhausted Yun Luofeng, Greenwood turned and walked out, carefully closing the door behind him. After he left, Yun Luofeng suddenly opened her eyes. Her gaze pierced through the curtains, looking at the azure sky. "Yun Xiao, wait for me. I'll use the fastest speed to become stronger, and follow in your footsteps." On another mainland, maple leaves flew wildly. Fresh blood dyed the entire forest red, forming a bright color in the midst of the falling leaves. Countless people stood in the forest, surrounding the man in the middle. This was a handsome man. His black robe fluttered in the wind. He was cold and domineering. His deep and dark eyes slowly swept past the people who surrounded him. His murderous intent was obvious. A strong gust of wind blew, filled with killing intent. The falling leaves were swept into the air and turned into countless sharp swords, instantly slashing the enemy's throat. Dead and lifeless. The expressions of a few of the elderly leaders changed drastically, and their eyes were filled with fear and dread as they looked at the man. Even so, they did not take a step back, nor were they frightened by the man's powerful aura. Ghost Monarch. You've killed so many people, you should be executed. The old man suppressed the panic in his heart and said, but since you're young and insensible, I'm willing to spare your life. Hand over the void mirror and I'll spare your life. Cough cough. Qin Yuan coughed twice and crawled up from the ground. His face was extremely weak, and when he heard the old man's shameless words, he couldn't help but sneer. He said mockingly, those people who died at my master's hands all died for the sake of the void mirror, so why can't my master kill them? Weren't you just trying to steal the treasure? How dare you say such high-sounding words? Chapter 1082. The void mirror belongs to us in the first place. He's returning it to its rightful owner. The old man scoffed. Hence, the people he killed were all innocent. He's the only sinner. Haha. Qin Yuan could not help but burst into laughter. You're the most shameless person I've ever heard in my life. What do you mean by the void mirror belongs to you? The void mirror was possessed by a powerhouse named Void 10,000 years ago. My master had accidentally entered Void's tomb and discovered the void mirror. Don't tell me that Void is your ancestor? I've heard that Void is a eunuch. The old man wiped the cold sweat off his face. His expression was extremely ugly. His eyes darted around before he said, my ancestor is indeed related to Void. Hence, you must hand the void mirror over to me. His ancestor was related to Void? How was that possible? He was only looking for a dignified reason to obtain the void mirror. Every man for himself, heaven and earth shall destroy him. Boom! Just as the old man was about to continue scaring the man, he saw the man make a move. He had not said a single word since the beginning. Perhaps these people were not worthy of his words, however. Just as he raised his hand, the surrounding wind suddenly became swift and fierce. It was like a sharp blade that killed people without a trace. Panic appeared in the old man's eyes. He desperately tried to dodge the wind. However, no matter how fast he was, how could he be faster than the surrounding wind? In just a moment, everyone present was sliced into countless pieces by the sharp wind blades. Qin Yuan. The man took out a mirror from his bosom and handed it to Qin Yuan. He then said expressionlessly, go back to the Wuhui mainland and hand this to Feng. Qin Yuan took the void mirror and replied respectfully, yes, master. He knew that his master had risked his life to obtain the void mirror for the sake of the mistress. After you go, you don't need to come back. Stay by her side and protect her. As for the people who are chasing after the void mirror, I'll eliminate them all. The man's voice was cold and emotionless, but it made Qin Yuan's body tremble. This time, a storm of blood will be stirred on this continent. Anyone who knew that master had a void mirror in his hands would be eradicated by him without a single exception. Because he didn't want to put mistress's people in any danger. Qin Yuan joined his fists and took one last look at the man's cold and determined back. Then he turned and walked in another direction. Yun Xiao turned around to look in the direction that Qin Yuan had disappeared in. She then looked up at the azure sky and the corners of her cold lips curled into a shallow smile. With this void mirror, your strength will grow even faster. As for me, I will conquer this world for you, and then personally give it to you. At this moment, Yun Luofeng was completely unaware of what was happening around Yun Xiao. He also did not know that because of her, he had already become the public enemy of the entire continent. In the courtyard, maple leaves drifted down. On the rock garden, Yun Luofeng's legs swayed back and forth. Her posture was lazy and evil. She held an invitation in her hand, and the corners of her lips curled up in an inexplicable smile. Master, why is the O family looking for you? Lin Ruobai blinked, his eyes filled with confusion. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile. Last time I made Oya lose face during Nangong's birthday banquet. This time she certainly wants to get back at me. That's why she invited me to the gathering. Chapter 1083. Lin Ruobai was furious. Master, I didn't go with you to the Nangong clan last time. This time I must go with you to that whatever gathering. I want to see who dares to bully my master. Thinking of the treatment Yun Luofeng suffered at the birthday banquet, Lin Ruobai gritted her teeth in anger. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. Since Oya wants to humiliate me, she will definitely invite Nangong to participate. So, I must take advantage of today's matter to clear Nangong's name. Lin Ruobai nodded her head forcefully. She hooked Yun Luofeng's arm and giggled. Master, bring me along. I want to help you vent your anger. Okay, then go and prepare. We'll leave at night. Yun Luofeng lazily stretched his back and leaned against a rock. His devilishly charming face slightly hooked into a smile. Looks like I have to quickly settle things here before I can go out and increase my strength without worry. Nighttime. The moon was as dark as water. Beside the Huai River, on a luxurious cruise ship, the elegant and soothing sound of a zither reverberated through the entire riverbank. Inside the cruise ship, the voices of young talents could be heard from time to time. But very quickly those voices abruptly stopped. Everyone turned to look at a man and two women who appeared at the entrance of the ship. They saw that the man was handsome and heroic, with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. The green robe he wore made his already young face appear even more green. However, the smile on the man's lips revealed a trace of a ruffian. He didn't look like a noble young master, but rather like a hooligan. The young girl standing next to the man was an absolute beauty. Her clothes were whiter than snow, and she was magnificent. She was so beautiful that people forgot to breathe. The scene of these two people standing together made people feel like a fresh flower stuck in cow dung. It was really a pity. Of course, there was another young girl next to the young girl in white. This young girl looked young and cute. When she smiled, her two small canine teeth were revealed. Her childish face was full of a bright smile, making people feel comfortable. Miss Oya, these two are. They didn't ask Nangong Uni. After all, in Endless City, who didn't know Nangong Uni's name? What made them curious was who the two young girls standing next to Nangong Uni were. However, some of the people who attended Nangong Uni's birthday banquet recognized Yun Luofeng, and their faces were filled with astonishment. Oya smiled. Let me introduce to all of you. This lady's medical skills are extremely powerful. Even I admit that I am inferior to her. Therefore, I have gathered all of you here today to give you a chance. If any of you have any hidden injuries, this young lady will treat all of you. Oya's smile was elegant and moving. Her every frown and smile was mesmerizing. Even though Oya was not as beautiful as Nangong Lan, she had a power that made people want to get close to her. Perhaps this was where her charm lay. Is what Miss Oya said true? Better than Miss Oya's medical skills? Could it be that this woman's talent was the best in Endless City? Why haven't I heard of her before? I didn't expect Miss Oya to be so dedicated to us. My body does have some hidden ailments. If I can be cured this time, it will be all thanks to Miss Oya. I will never forget it. Look, Yun Luofeng was the doctor, but all the credit belonged to Oya. She didn't do anything and even wanted to make things difficult for Yun Luofeng. In the end, the person everyone thanked was her. Chapter 1084. Since when did my master agree to treat them? Lin Ruobai's expression changed. He scoffed coldly and spoke in a bad mood. Oya's gaze turned towards Yun Luofeng and the others. Miss Yun, these people's families all have great power in Endless City. Some of them are even lower than our three great families. I'm doing this to help them solve their problems, and also to let you accept this favor. If you save them, they will definitely be extremely grateful to you. In the future, it will be easier for you to do things in Endless City. These people had been specially invited by her, and some of them were suffering from extremely complicated illnesses. If Yun Luofeng was unable to cure these people, she would be able to use their mouths to humiliate her. If she could cure them, these people would definitely thank her, and from then on, they would be on the same side as the O family. As for whether Yun Luofeng would reject her, she did not care. After all, she needed to have the guts to reject the young talents of so many great families. Yun Luofeng looked at Oya. Save them and then let them thank you? Do you think that I would do such a thankless thing? A small smile appeared on Oye's face. Miss Yun, you've misunderstood me. I only want to help them because I know that your medical skills are outstanding. I don't want them to feel indebted to you. Besides, the person who has saved them is you. The one who will be indebted will definitely be you. I'm sorry, I refuse to be treated. Nangong Xiaobai, let's go. Yun Luofeng threw these words and turned to leave. Wait. Oye's expression carried a sense of anxiety. Miss Yun, what do you want to do to save them? Yun Luofeng paused in her steps. She turned around and looked at Oye with a smile. As long as I save them, will you be willing to do anything? Oye was stunned. A hint of struggle flashed across her eyes. Over the years, the relationship between the three great families had become more and more unharmonious. Hence, the great families had tried their best to rope in other forces and expand their power. This was also the reason why she had come this time. Hence, she must agree no matter what. Yes, I'm willing to do anything. Indeed, when they heard Oye's words, the faces of the young talents filled with gratitude. All right. Yun Luofeng raised her brows. If you marry Nangong, I'll save them. Whoosh! Oye's face suddenly turned pale. She was very confident in her own qualifications. If she really married Nangong Uni, it would be equivalent to her entire life being ruined. How could she use this kind of qualifications to find an outstanding husband? She had to sell herself for the sake of the O clan. Miss Yun, can you change your conditions? Oye bit her lips. Even if you ask my O family for money, I'm willing to pay. Yun Luofeng smiled. You said before that in order to save them, you can accept any condition. Was he going back on his word now? I'm not interested in your Nangong family's treasures. I only want you to marry Nangong. No matter how rich the O clan was, they weren't as rich as she was right now. Especially, that medical tower was the most precious treasure in her hands. As long as the medical tower was established, countless medicinal ingredients would fall into her hands in the future. Those medicinal ingredients would all be sold at sky-high prices. Oye's expression grew uglier. She had never thought that Yun Luofeng would make such a request. Chapter 1085. Based on how close she was with Nangong Uni, shouldn't she want to marry him? Why did he want to marry her for his sake? Yun Luofeng was clearly threatening Oye to marry Nangong Uni. However, in Oye's eyes, it had become a marriage proposal. The difference between the two words was like heaven and earth. Yun Luofeng shrugged his shoulders when he saw Oye's troubled expression. I was only joking earlier. After all, with Nangong's status, you're not worthy of him. Oye's expression changed as a hint of anger appeared in her eyes. Miss Yun, what do you mean by that? She wasn't worthy of Nangong? With Nangong's identity as an illegitimate child, how could he not be worthy of him? You've seen my medical skills. Nangong is my junior. That's why I said you're not worthy of him. Nangong was indeed her junior brother. However, that was in China. Don't you all want to be healed? Yun Luofeng's evil eyes swept across the crowd, and the corners of his lips curled into an evil smile. Sure. But I'm a little busy, so I don't have time to treat you. If you need anything, you can go to the West City to look for Nangong. He will be there to prescribe medicine and diagnose your illnesses. Let's go. Yun Luofeng slowly turned around and walked out of the cabin. Lin Ruobai and Nangong Uni followed behind her and quickly walked out. Master, are we leaving just like that? Lin Ruobai blinked and asked. Yun Luofeng declined to comment. Since we know their goal, there is no need to stay. Yun Luofeng. Nangong Uni glanced at Yun Luofeng, his eyes filled with grief. Even if you want to push the blame away, why are you pushing it onto me? When did I ever know how to treat illnesses? Between Yun Luofeng's brows there was confidence. I have a clear understanding of those people's conditions. I will give you the treatment method later. Nangong Uni was dumbfounded. You're saying that in such a short period of time, you've already figured out everyone's illness? Why didn't I know you were so powerful back then? It's just that after coming to this place, I had an opportunity and accidentally improved my medical skills. Yun Luofeng shrugged his shoulders and said. Nangong Uni's eyes were filled with envy. Why don't I have such a good opportunity? It's really infuriating to compare with others. Indeed, luck is not something that everyone has. Yun Luofeng had always admitted that luck was very important for him to be able to walk this far. If she had not picked up the Divine Book of Medicine in the library, she would have been blown to pieces in the explosion. She would not have achieved what she had today. If he had never met Yun Xiao, perhaps she had already died many times. Nangong, tomorrow, go to my place to prescribe medicine and consult patients. Within 3 days you must cure all the patients. 3 days? Nangong Yuni was startled. Isn't that too short of a time? That's enough. Yun Luofeng lifted his head to look at Nangong Yuni. I'll give you the prescription in a moment. You have 1 night to memorize everything for me. Since there's no luck, I'll have to rely on my own efforts. Nangong Yuni fell silent. How could he not understand that Yun Luofeng was doing this for him? If he cured these young geniuses, they would definitely thank him, and the Nangong family would also have a whole new level of respect for him. Yes, there was no luck, only hard work. Moreover, he had already expressed that he had no interest in inheriting the Nangong family, but Nangong Lan still wanted to kill him. Since that was the case, he could only snatch the power of the family into his hands. Chapter 1086. Nangong, actually all these years I've encountered many dangers and suffered many hardships. I only have one goal, to survive. She only wanted to live, that was all. Good brother. Nangong Yuni patted Yun Luofeng's shoulder and nodded firmly. I won't let you down. 1 night is enough. Seeing Nangong Yuni's determined face, Yun Luofeng smiled. I can only help you this much. You'll have to rely on yourself from now on. After all, if you rely on me, you won't be able to go far. Thank you. Nangong Yuni's face was filled with gratitude. This is enough, you've already helped me so much. Yun Luofeng, wait for me. No matter where you go in the future, I'll chase after you. Yun Luofeng looked at Nangong Yuni, turned around and said, Xiaobai, let's go. With that she walked forward, her snow-like figure gradually disappearing from Nangong Yuni's sight. The next day, early morning. Outside the house, countless young geniuses were looking around endlessly. They had only found out that Yun Luofeng lived here after many inquiries. As for the fact that she was the tower master of the medical tower, it had been concealed by everyone in the medical tower. Even though the residents of the West City knew that Yun Luofeng and Qing Mu were in cahoots, they didn't know that she was the tower master of the medical tower. Nangong Yuni had placed a table and chair at the entrance, calmly checking everyone's pulse. He was calm and composed, like a virtuous and respected doctor. As he explained the symptoms of those people, everyone's trust in him grew. Some of the young girls who once looked down on him now looked at him with shining eyes. Mississippi, not far away, the servant girl glared at Nangong Yuni and said angrily, These people were obviously found by you, Mississippi. Nangong Yuni actually took advantage of them. Do you really think this is an advantage? Oya sneered. Even that Yun Luofeng couldn't diagnose so many people's illnesses without making any mistakes. Furthermore, Nangong Yuni doesn't have any medical skills. If he had such brilliant medical skills, he would have used them to pursue me long ago. Why would he hide it until now? The maidservant knitted her elegant eyebrows. Miss means that Nangong Yuni is swindling people? Oya let out a mocking smile before she turned around and said, Come, we'll inform the fathers of these young geniuses now. Let them know that these people easily believe that Nangong Yuni could cure illnesses. Not long after Oya left, the parents who heard the news flew into a rage. They went forward and pulled their children away. What are you doing? Nangong Yuni knew how to treat illnesses? Don't be ridiculous. It's more like he only knows how to visit prostitutes. How can he treat illnesses? Qingran, let's go home. Your leg has been ill for many years, and so many doctors have been unable to cure it. How can you trust Nangong Yuni? I will continue to look for famous doctors to treat you. Son, who says it's your problem that our family doesn't have any children? It's clearly those women who are sick. Why are you treating them? Go home with father, don't embarrass yourself. Daughter, I know that the scar on your face makes you very uncomfortable, but this kind of thing can't be cured by medicine. Let's go back. One day, I will find you a son-in-law no matter what price I have to pay. Chapter 1087. Those people simply didn't believe in Nangong Yuni's medical skills. In their eyes, it was definitely this illegitimate son's lies that caused their own child to believe his words. Nangong Yuni wasn't angry. He put away the pen and paper in his hand and smiled. I will stay here for 3 days. Within these 3 days, if you have any problems, you can come find me for treatment. Of course, starting tomorrow, it won't just cost 10 million taels of silver. It will cost at least 30 million taels of silver. Nangong Uni, don't lie here. If it wasn't for the Nangong family's face, I would have smashed your stall a long time ago. A father angrily turned to Nangong Uni and fiercely shouted. Nangong Uni faintly smiled. I'm afraid you will know very soon whether or not I'm a liar. When that time comes, don't come and beg me. Even if you beg me, I won't treat your son's illness. That father angrily flung his robe and forcefully dragged his son away. Among them, there were a few who had already obtained Nangong Uni's prescription. They took advantage of the fact that their father wasn't paying attention to secretly hide and obediently followed him back home. The commotion here was very big, and it had also reached the ears of the 3 great families. At this moment in the Nangong family, Nangong Qing was sitting high up. Beside him was a beautiful woman. Needless to say, this woman was Nangong Lan's mother, Mu Qianqian. Apart from these 2 people, there was also a group of elders sitting below. Even Nangong Lan was sitting at the table. They all looked at Nangong Uni as if they were interrogating a criminal. For a moment, the entire hall was filled with an oppressive atmosphere. Can you tell father what exactly happened? Why did you treat the children of the various families? Nangong Qing frowned and sternly asked. This time he was indeed very disappointed in his son. Even if he was to cause trouble, there should be a limit. Now that he had caused such a big commotion, if he offended all of these families, they would go to the other 2 families. It would be extremely disadvantageous for the Nangong family. Didn't you see what I did? It's just treating the illness. It's not that big of a deal. Nangong Uni shrugged his shoulders and had a mischievous smile on his face. Patriarch. Mu Qianqian glanced at Nangong Uni, and a sneer appeared in the depths of her eyes. Is too sensible. If we let him continue to cause trouble, he might cause trouble for our Nangong family. Patriarch, please expel him from the family. That's right. Madam is right. Patriarch, the eldest young master is too reckless. If we don't chase him out, he will definitely bring us trouble in the future. Clanhead, please make your decision. The other elders echoed in agreement. It seemed like Nangong Uni was a ticking time bomb to them, and he was too dangerous. Nangong Qing's complexion didn't look too good. He coldly glanced at Mu Qianqian, then turned his gaze towards Nangong Uni. Do you know your mistake? Nangong Uni sneered. I didn't do anything wrong, so why should I know? You. Nangong Qing's face was livid with anger. If you admit your mistake now and promise not to treat them again, I'll forgive you this time. I told you I'm not wrong. Nangong Uni's tone was very stubborn. He didn't do anything wrong, so why should he admit it? Guards. Nangong Qing's complexion darkened. Lock the eldest young master in his room and strictly guard him. He is not allowed to step out of his room for half a month. Towards Nangong Uni, he still showed mercy. Chapter 1088. She only had one son. How could she have the heart to expel him from the family? Mu Qianqian clenched her fists. She and Nangong Lan looked at each other and saw the murderous intent in each other's eyes. Nangong Uni could not be allowed to live. He was a threat to their position in the future. Many years ago, after Mu Qianqian had given birth to Nangong Lan, she had accidentally damaged her body so she could no longer get pregnant. Because of this, she had poisoned all the concubines in the Nangong family, so they could no longer get pregnant. Who would have thought that Nangong Uni would appear? She had done so much, how could she be willing to give up halfway? Therefore Nangong Uni must die. Master. The elders still wanted to say something, but Nangong Qing had already stood up and interrupted them. This is first time, so I will be lenient. Let him reflect on his mistakes in the next few days so he doesn't make the same mistake again. With that, Nangong Qing flung his sleeves and strode out of the hall. Mother. Nangong Lan stood up, her elegant face filled with murderous intent. Mu Qianqian hurriedly gave her a look, indicating that she should not be impatient. After all, Nangong Uni now had 2 spiritual beasts protecting him. He would not be easy to deal with. They could only take their time to think. In the courtyard, sunlight shone down on a young girl's beautiful face. She lazily reclined on the chaise longue and listened to the reports of the people next to her. She raised her eyebrows and smiled. Master. Yiling paused and asked, do we need to send someone to save young Master Nangong? No need. Yun Luofeng played with his hair and said with a smile, the Nangong family will release him tomorrow. As for Nangong, no one can hurt him now, so I'm not worried. You can leave and keep an eye on the Wu family. Yes, master. With that, Yiling cupped his fists and retreated. Just as he left, two voices came from Yun Luofeng's soul. When she heard these two voices, she hurriedly stood up from the chaise longue and the smile on her lips deepened. Master, during the time I wasn't here, did someone stupid provoke you again? This voice was very childish, but it was incomparably arrogant. I feel that anyone who provokes Master will not have a good ending. The other was elegant and noble. From her voice, one could tell that this woman was definitely graceful and noble. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. You're finally awake? As soon as he finished speaking, two rays of light appeared out of thin air and landed in front of Yun Luofeng. One of them was a young man with a childish smile on his handsome face. He looked to be around 14 or 15 years old, with red lips and white teeth. His skin was so tender that it seemed as if water could be squeezed out of it. The other was a peerlessly beautiful woman wearing a golden dress and a crown on her head. She was graceful, gentle, and elegant, like a high and mighty empress who ruled over the world. Master, I've finally transformed into a human. I missed you so much. The youth opened his arms and rushed towards Yun Luofeng. His two arms hooked onto Yun Luofeng's body, and his eyes shone with a golden light. The woman pursed her lips and smiled. She gazed at Yun Luofeng with a gentle gaze, noble and inviolable. Milk Tea Queen Rat. Looking at the two people in front of him, Yun Luofeng smiled wickedly. Congratulations on successfully transforming into a human. Ever since they had swallowed the fruit from the little tree, they had fallen into a deep sleep and had not woken up. Only now did they wake up after successfully transforming into a human. Chapter 1089. Once a spirit beast cultivated a human nature, its combat power would multiply. This is all thanks to Master, the Rat Queen said gently. If not for Master, we wouldn't have been able to transform into humans. You are our benefactor. We will never forget you. Without Yun Luofeng's appearance, they would have continued hiding in the forest of no return. How would they have their current lives? Compared to humans, spirit beasts were more realistic. They would use their entire lives to repay those who were good to them. Mother. A gold-seeking rat came out from the bushes. She shook her head and walked towards Milk Tea and her pet monkey. Milk Tea was stunned for a moment before recognizing the pink gold-seeking rat. Her eyes were filled with joy. Meng Meng, you can speak human language now? Meng Meng nodded shyly. Master gave me a lot of medicinal herbs. I used them to break through to the venerable realm. However, I don't have the transformation fruit, so I can't transform into a human for now. Milk Tea choked. How could he not know that Yun Luofeng did all he could to help Meng Meng improve her strength for his sake? The small tree doesn't have any extra transformation fruits. I'll wait for it to bear fruit in the future before transforming into a human for Meng Meng. Milk Tea could only marry Meng Meng after she transformed into a human, of course. The prerequisite was that Milk Tea had to get Meng Meng. In a certain family, a man who was dealing with official business heard a scream. By the time he reacted and wanted to go out to check on the situation, his daughter had already rushed in. Father, father, my face. What happened to your face? The man was stunned. He looked up at his daughter's face. He was dumbfounded by what he saw. Baby, where's the scar on your face? Where did it go? How could there be any blemishes on his daughter's smooth and flat face? Not only was there no blemishes, even her skin was much better than before. Father, actually, I secretly used the prescription Nangong Uni gave me. In less than 2 hours my scar disappeared, the girl said emotionally. God knew how many people had rolled their eyes at her over the years because of the scar on her face. Now that the scar had disappeared, how could she not be excited? The man was stunned. He stared at his daughter in shock. Are you serious? Was it Nangong Uni's prescription that caused your scars to disappear? Father, Nangong Uni's medicine is really amazing. This won't do, I have to go find little Xiao. Little Xiao went to West City with me before, but she was dragged away by her father before Nangong Uni could diagnose her. Maybe Nangong Uni can cure her baldness. After throwing these words, the woman hurriedly turned around and left, leaving the man dumbfounded on the spot. At the same time, similar situations were happening in various families. Moreover, the children of these families knew each other. Therefore, the news quickly spread to the ears of those who didn't get the consultation. When those people received the news from their companions, they were immediately excited. However, when they thought of the fact that they would have to pay double the price for the consultation, they couldn't help but blame their own fathers. But as long as they could cure the disease, it was worth it no matter how high the price was. So, those people didn't wait for daybreak before they hurriedly gathered outside Yun Luofeng's house. Their eyes were filled with hope as they stared at the road to the side. Unfortunately, they waited for Nangong Uni to arrive even before the sky brightened. They waited until the sun had set, but Nangong Uni never came. Chapter 1090. The people who were originally full of hope were now disappointed. Could it be that Nangong Uni was angry because of what happened yesterday, causing him to stop going to see the patients? Just as everyone was hesitating, a guard walked out of the house and said expressionlessly, "You don't have to wait for young Master Nangong here." The Nangong family said that he was causing trouble, so they locked him up. No matter how long you wait, it's useless. What? Hearing this, everyone became anxious. If Nangong Uni was locked up, then who would be able to treat their illnesses? Suddenly, those people seemed to have thought of something and turned to look at the guard. "You don't have to look at me. My master doesn't treat people easily. If you want to be treated, you'd better look for young Master Nangong. After all, young Master Nangong's fees are very unreasonable. My master charges at least 50 million taels of silver for each treatment." The crowd sighed in disappointment. Now, it seemed that they could only entrust their hopes to Nangong Uni. "Come, let's go home and find our father to plead for young Master Nangong. Young Master Nangong's medical skills are so high, and he's also hidden. The Nangong family actually locked him up." "That's right. Even if our family's power is inferior to the Nangong family, the Nangong family still needs to give us face and let Nangong Uni go. No matter what, we can't let young Master Nangong suffer such injustice." Everyone seemed to have made up their minds and hurriedly rushed in the direction of their families. If the elders of the families didn't believe in Nangong Uni at the beginning, then after seeing so many people's illnesses getting better, they couldn't help but feel that it was a miracle. Thus, this time they allowed their children to go find Nangong Uni for treatment. But their children left for a day and only returned in the evening. Moreover, they didn't show any joy. Instead, their faces were full of anxiety. After asking, they found out that Nangong Uni was locked up. How could this be? In an instant, the various family heads hurriedly rushed towards the Nangong family. Their speed was so fast that it made people gasp in amazement. Nangong family. The various family heads in Nangong Qing were discussing in the meeting hall. The topic of discussion was the hedonistic Nangong Uni. Suddenly, a hurried voice came from outside the door and into the meeting hall. "Family head, all the family heads are here to see you." "Look," one of the elders sneered, his face full of ridicule. "It must be that there's something wrong with the prescription that eldest young master gave them, so they came to settle the score with eldest young master." "Humph!" Nangong Qing coldly snorted. "If they want to come, then so be it. Do you think I, Nangong Qing, am afraid of these people?" The elder sneered. "These clans aren't a match for the Nangong clan even if they join hands. But things will be different if they join the Wu clan or the O clan. After all, there are so many clans in Endless City, and everyone wants to rope them in. The balance between the three families would also be broken because of this." Nangong Qing was also aware of this point. His expression was not very good. "As for the specifics, let's wait until we meet the patriarchs of the various families. If something really happens, we will have to compensate them no matter how much it is." "Patriarch, I really don't understand you. Is it worth it for the eldest young master?" Miss was so outstanding and could totally support the entire Nangong family. Big young master was just a prodigal. Why did he have to put in so much effort for him? In my opinion, we should just give him to those people. Hearing the elder's voice, Nangong Qing clenched his fist tightly. Chapter 1091. He had always valued men over women, so how could he be willing to hand the Nangong family over to Nangong Lan? Nangong Lan was going to get married sooner or later. If he gave it to her, wouldn't it be the same as giving it to an outsider? I will make my own decisions on these matters. You don't have to say anything. Nangong Qing glanced at the elders and walked out of the meeting hall. In the hall, the patriarchs of the various families were anxiously pacing back and forth. When they saw Nangong Qing leading a group of people, their eyes lit up and they hurriedly went forward to welcome him. Family head Nangong, are we here to look for the young master? I wonder if he's here? Nangong Qing opened his mouth to speak, but he was interrupted by the elder who followed closely behind. Patriarch, why don't you hand the eldest young master over to them? Why do you have to lose money for the eldest young master? Everyone, the Nangong family's elder council has unanimously decided to expel the eldest young master from the family. Nangong Qing's expression changed. He turned around and said malevolently, who gave you such authority? Patriarch, we are all thinking for the Nangong family. Naturally, we don't want the Nangong family to lose money. The elder sneered and turned to the various patriarchs in the hall. Nangong Uni is no longer a member of our Nangong family. You can do whatever you want to him, we won't interfere. Nangong Qing's expression became more and more unsightly as he clenched his fists tightly. The patriarchs looked at each other in dismay, like monks scratching their heads, their faces full of doubt. Hand the young master over to us? What did that mean? Why do I not understand? Why do you want to expel young master from the family? The elder was startled and asked, didn't you come to settle the score with eldest young master because of the problem with his prescription? Settle accounts? Why do we have to settle accounts with young master? One of the patriarchs looked at the elder doubtfully before turning his gaze to Nangong Qing. Patriarch Nangong, it's like this. Young master's prescription is simply too miraculous. My good friend's daughter originally had a scar on her face, but in less than 2 hours after taking that medicine, the scar was completely healed. Today my daughter specially went to the West City to wait for the entire day, but she didn't see young master. Thus, she specially came to the Nangong family to beg young master to come out and treat her illness. Not to mention those elders who ridiculed him. Even Nangong Qing was dumbfounded. Does Nangong Uni really know how to treat illnesses? Why didn't he as her father know about this? That's right, we came here to ask young master Nangong to treat us. We sincerely request family head Nangong to let young master come out and treat us. My son's body is fine, but I often feel weak. Thus, after hearing of young master's strength, I rushed over to seek medical advice. As long as young master is willing to save me, not to mention 30 million, I'm willing to fork out 50 million. Nangong Qing was dumbfounded. He looked at the excited patriarchs and asked hesitantly, did you just say that can cure all of your illnesses? That's right. It's precisely because your young master has cured many people that we came to him for treatment. I hope that the Nangong family head can understand your young master. It was like being struck by lightning. The faces of the Nangong family's elders froze. These people's words were like a ruthless slap to their faces, echoing in waves. Nangong Lan, who was rushing over, also heard their conversation. Her elegant and peerless face turned pale and she could not help but take a few steps back. Did Nangong Uni really know how to treat people? Since when did he have such an ability? Chapter 1092. Nangong Qing recovered from his shock, and his face was filled with joy. To him this was undoubtedly a pleasant surprise. He had always thought that his son was a useless person, but he didn't expect him to have such extraordinary talent. Someone invite the eldest young master here. Nangong Qing cleared his throat, coughed twice and said refreshingly, everyone please sit down and have a cup of tea. I will let treat all of you in a moment. His expression was very spirited. Ever since Nangong Uni returned to the Nangong family, he had never raised his head high again. Nangong Lan looked at the smiling Nangong Qing, gritted her teeth, turned around and walked out. The moment she turned around, the killing intent in her eyes could no longer be hidden, and surged out violently. In Endless City, the news of many family heads heading to the Nangong family to find Nangong Uni to treat his illness spread like a hurricane, causing a huge uproar in Endless City. When this news spread to the O family, Oya's expression quickly changed. but quickly returned to normal. "Miss," the servant girl beside her was indignant, "you were the one who gathered those people, but now that brat Nangong Uni has it easy. This servant feels unjust for you." Oya slightly narrowed her eyes, and the corner of her lips raised into an elegant arc. "I didn't expect Nangong Uni to actually have medical skills? Miss, you can't be." The servant girl was startled, and carefully looked at Oya. Oya raised her eyebrows, and the smile on her face became even wider. "You're thinking too much. Even if Nangong Uni has medical skills, I won't have any interest in him. If I marry him, it will definitely bring shame to my father." The servant girl heaved a sigh of relief and giggled in agreement. "That's true. Even if Nangong Uni has medical skills, he can't change the fact that he's a bastard. Miss is so outstanding, the person you marry will definitely be a dragon among men. How can Nangong Uni be worthy of you?" Oya declined to comment. In her heart, the difference between her and Nangong Uni's status was too great. How could he be worthy of her? If this Nangong Uni wasn't a bastard son, perhaps I would consider it. Unfortunately, his identity is destined to have no fate with me. Oya sighed. Her voice was filled with regret. All of this was because of Nangong Uni's mother. If it wasn't for that woman having an affair, how could Nangong Uni have ended up like this? It was impossible for her to reject him. "Mississippi Old Master is looking for you." Suddenly, a maidservant quickly ran over and reported while panting. Hearing the maidservant's words, Oya's expression changed and she slowly stood up. "Father is looking for me? Why is he looking for me?" At this thought, Oya raised her brows and said to the servant girl before her, "I understand." With that, she walked towards the study. In the study, the middle-aged man stood with his hands behind his back. When he heard the sound of the door opening, he turned his head. His gaze landed on the elegant woman who was slowly walking in, and his tone gradually softened. You've come?" Oya smiled and said in a respectful tone. "Father, why did you ask me to come?" The middle-aged man nodded. "You've probably heard about Nangong Uni's matter. I didn't expect this illegitimate son to be so secretive. Perhaps we've all misjudged him." "Oh yes, you mentioned that the woman who was in the limelight at Nangong Uni's birthday. Have you sent anyone to investigate her?" Oya narrowed her eyes slightly, and a cold light flashed across them. "That woman claimed to be Nangong Uni's senior, but I'm not sure of her exact identity. If father wants to know her identity, I can send someone to investigate." Chapter 1093. I have a feeling that this woman isn't simple. The middle-aged man's lips curled into a cold smile. "Of course, if we can use her, we won't mistreat her. If not, we'll just kill her." Oya raised her eyes in surprise. Even though she didn't like Yun Luofeng, she had never thought of killing her. But her father wanted to take her life? Yeah. The middle-aged man's tone softened when he saw the surprise in Oya's eyes. Recently, Endless City hasn't been peaceful, especially with the emergence of a force called the Medical Tower. I still haven't figured out the true strength of this force, especially the Tower Master. She's elusive. Apart from knowing that she's a woman, I don't know anything else. I don't even know how old she is. So, the middle-aged man paused for a moment before continuing. I can't let the medical tower's power continue to expand. Since the woman you're talking about has such powerful medical skills, she can't be won over by the medical tower. Oya was silent for a moment. Then she raised her head and asked, "What if she already belongs to the medical tower?" The middle-aged man smiled. His face was full of confidence. "Then we'll use more generous benefits to win her over. I don't believe that the medical tower can snatch someone from our own family. By the way, I heard that there are a few elders in the medical tower who are quite strong. You should also think of a way to win them over. Without these overseeing elders, the medical tower is nothing but an empty shell." The middle-aged man didn't expect that the person he wanted to poach was the tower master of the medical tower. When he found out about this, he realized what a mistake he had made. "Yes, father." Oya's face darkened. When she thought that the person she was trying to rope in was someone she hated, she felt very unhappy in her heart. But for the O family, she had to put aside her personal grudges. Even if she didn't like Yun Luofeng, she had to do everything she could to win her over. West City. Inside the courtyard, Yun Luofeng was lazily lying on the chaise longue. Her eyes were covered by 2 green leaves as she basked in the sun. Milk Tea obediently let her legs down, and the smile on her face was very flattering. Suddenly, an unfamiliar aura came from the front, causing Yun Luofeng to lift his hand and lift the green leaves covering his eyes. A lazy smile appeared on his face as he looked at Oya, who was walking over. At that moment there was an old man beside Oya. The old man sized up Yun Luofeng's courtyard with disdain in his eyes. Even when walking, he had to lift his feet for fear of dirtying his shoes. "Are you here to thank me?" Yun Luofeng stretched lazily. "However, you're thanking the wrong person. If you want to thank someone, you should be looking for Nangong Uni. After all, he's helped you solve so many patients." Oya's expression sunk. She had painstakingly worked so hard for Nangong Uni's dowry. This caused her to feel very unwilling in her heart. However, no matter how furious she was, she still endured it. "Miss Yun, I've come to look for you this time because I have something to discuss with you." A smile appeared on her face. "I admire your abilities. I wonder if you'd be willing to become a guest elder of the O family?" Yun Luofeng raised her brows. She had long known about Oya's background. Nangong Uni's display of skill would certainly make many people's gazes linger on her. Chapter 1094. Therefore she was fully prepared for this. "Are you trying to rope me in?" She smiled. Her smile was extremely beautiful. Oya had to admit that this woman was indeed beautiful. She was breathtakingly beautiful. Even Nangong Lan was not as beautiful as her. "Miss Yun, I truly admire your abilities. After all, for a genius like you to stay here, it's simply too unfair for you." Oya's words were very sincere as she looked at Yun Luofeng without blinking. Yun Luofeng's smile was evil and lazy. His black eyes were deep and dark as if they were bottomless. "Unfortunately, the O family is not qualified to rope you in." In other words, even if the O family admired her abilities, she didn't think much of the O family. "Milk Tea, see the guest out." "Yes, master." Milk Tea straightened her body and looked at Oya. The expression on her little face became very impatient. "My master already asked you to leave. Did you not hear her? Hurry up and get lost." Oya's expression changed. She thought that Yun Luofeng would be persuaded if she came personally. Who knew that these people would be so uncultured? "Humph." The old man snorted and stared coldly at Yun Luofeng. "My miss came personally to invite you. That's because she thinks highly of you. Don't be ungrateful. What benefits did the medical tower give you? The O family can double it. As long as you work hard for the O family, you won't be lacking in benefits." Oya followed up after the old man and said, "Miss Yun, many doctors have come to Endless City for the sake of joining the medical tower. Therefore, I'm guessing that you've rejected me because you've joined the medical tower. However, it doesn't matter, my O family can wait for you. Just like what Elder O Lin has said, as long as you join the O family, my O family will give you double the benefits that the medical tower has given you." Yun Luofeng was startled. His evil eyes flashed with astonishment. The other people in the courtyard raised their heads and stared at Oya in shock. Was this woman stupid? The medical tower was established by their master. How could she say that she would be given double the benefits? Of course, in Oya's eyes, these people were shocked by the double benefits. "Miss Yun, even if you don't think about yourself, you should think about the people in your family. If you join the O clan, you can read any medicinal herbs or medical books as you please. If you have any other requests, feel free to mention them." Yun Luofeng's body lazily dripped down, the corners of her lips raised into a devilish smile. She narrowed her eyes and looked at Oya with a smile that was not a smile. "What if I want the entire O family?" At this moment, Oya's expression had completely darkened. She clenched her fists tightly and her expression was extremely ugly. "Miss Yun, aren't you asking for too much? Apart from the O clan, you can ask for anything else." Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows, and his evil eyes swept over Oya. "Sorry, I don't like the O clan." If it wasn't for Oya's extraordinary willpower, she would have been driven mad by Yun Luofeng's words. She really didn't know where this woman's sense of superiority came from. How could she not put the O clan in her eyes? "Last, don't push your luck." O Lin's complexion sank and anger faintly seeped out from the bottom of his eyes. Our O clan's influence is so great that even 10 medical towers can't compare to it. Yet, you still don't put the O clan in your eyes? Could it be that what the O clan can give you isn't comparable to the newly established medical tower? Milk tea. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. These two are disturbing my peaceful cultivation. If they don't want to leave, throw them out. Chapter 1095. Yes, Milk tea responded, then turned to look at the people in front of her. Hey, aren't you leaving yet? I've never seen such a shameless person in my life. My master has asked you to leave a few times already, but you still dare to stay here. Auron frowned and said impatiently, a little kid dares to be so rude in front of me. Hurry up and get lost. Adults don't have the right to butt in. In Auron's eyes, Milk tea was so respectful towards Yun Luofeng, so he must be her boy toy. Talking to a boy toy and even sullying herself. Milk tea's eyes were filled with anger. A strong wind suddenly rose, and his frail body stood in the wind, looking even thinner. Get lost. Suddenly, Milk tea opened its mouth and let out a loud shout. In that instant, Auron's face suddenly paled, as if he had received a heavy blow to his chest. He took a few steps back. Auron was a low-level venerable realm, so he didn't suffer any injuries. Oya, on the other hand, did not fare as well. Her body flew up and shot out, crashing into the crowd with a loud thud. In the entire Endless City, there were many people who knew Oya. Now that they saw her fly out from the courtyard, they unconsciously surrounded her, pointing at her and discussing in low voices. Isn't that O family's young lady? Why is she here? I heard that Nangong Uni recently lost interest in O family's young lady, and instead fell in love with the owner of this residence. Could it be that O family's young lady is here to settle the score? That can't be. I heard that O family's young lady has always been dismissive of Nangong Uni. You don't understand. It's her business that she doesn't like Nangong Uni, but it doesn't mean that she can bear to let the man chasing after her fall in love with someone else. Hearing these people's discussions, Oya was so angry that she almost vomited blood. At this time, Milk tea stood out and spat at her on the ground. You little slut. Back then you didn't want Nangong Uni. Now, just because young Master Nangong is a little close to my master, you're forcing my master to break off relations. Milk tea spoke agitatedly as if this was really the case. Everyone, this O clan's young lady is too vicious. She came to my master and said that if my master doesn't break off relations with young Master Nangong, she will kill my master. This young lady of the O clan is too shameless. Oya angrily shouted, don't talk nonsense. When did I come here for Nangong Uni? Milk tea chuckled. Then why did you come to find my master? Oya fell silent when she heard that. Was she going to say that she was here to poach him? And it failed? Thrown out? The O clan would become a laughingstock if this matter were to spread out. At the thought of this, Oya gritted her teeth and kept quiet. But at this moment her sharp eyes caught a glimpse of Nangong Uni in the crowd. A trace of joy flashed through her eyes and she hurriedly said, Young Master Nangong, please come out and explain things to me. The situation isn't like what they say. In an instant everyone's eyes gathered on Nangong Uni. Nangong Uni's face was bewildered. He didn't know what was going on. He rubbed the back of his head and said, I came to find Yun Luofeng. What are you all doing here? Alright, Oya, why are you lying on the ground? Could it be that you went to find trouble with Yun Luofeng and got beaten up by her? Chapter 1096. Oya's expression darkened. Nangong Uni, I came to find Miss Yun to discuss something. Moreover, I accidentally tripped just now. It has nothing to do with you, and I can't possibly find Miss Yun for you. Nangong Uni was like a monk scratching his head. He clearly didn't know what Oya meant. Milk tea glared at Nangong Uni in warning. What kind of taste do you have? You actually fancy this kind of woman. This. Nangong Uni rubbed the back of his head and laughed awkwardly. She looks more like my ex-girlfriend, so I couldn't help but cling on to her. Now that I'm clear-headed, I also understand that the two of them aren't the same person. Oya's expression became more and more unsightly. Her tightly clenched fists made cracking sounds. Nangong Uni chased after her because he thought she was another woman? How could Oya, who had always been arrogant, endure this? Nangong Uni, I hope you don't regret your words today. Oya climbed up from the ground and fiercely flung her sleeves. Elder Olin, let's go. Olin coldly swept his gaze over Nangong Uni and milk tea, snorted and arrogantly left. These people weren't willing to join the O clan, so in the future, the O clan would only make them unworthy. Even though Oya had already left, her actions in Western City still spread. Not long after, the entire Endless City knew that she went to find trouble with another woman for Nangong Uni. For a moment, the residents of Endless City secretly criticized her, causing her reputation to plummet. At the same time, the people of the various clans didn't want to be outdone, and used all their strength to poach the medical tower's elders. After knowing what these people had done, Yun Luofeng said that those who came to present gifts could leave the gifts. As for whether the elders were willing to meet them, that was their problem. Hearing this, those who came to present gifts left with smiles on their faces. To them, as long as the elders accepted the gifts, they had hope. Unfortunately, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Some forces were about to go bankrupt from giving gifts. They didn't even get to meet the elders, so how could they talk about poaching them? Compared to them, the elders' hands were about to go numb from receiving gifts. They looked at the gifts piled up in the elders' room and stared at Yun Luofeng with resentment. Pagoda Master, the people who send gifts will break the threshold of the medical tower. It doesn't seem good for us to accept the gifts, right? Yun Luofeng looked around the room full of gifts. He gently stroked his chin and said with a smile, "When they brought the gifts, did they say they wanted to see you? Since they didn't ask for anything, why shouldn't I accept them?" The elders looked at each other. Even if these people didn't say anything, the purpose of giving gifts would be very clear. If it wasn't to meet the elders, why would they go through so much trouble to give gifts? But because they didn't say anything, Yun Luofeng had a handle on them. Thinking of this, the crowd could not help but break out in cold sweat for the families that had been targeted. Who asked them to poach someone's woman? Why did they have to come to Yun Luofeng to poach people? Wasn't that waiting to be scammed? Those who came to present gifts, accept as much as they give. No need to be polite. If you feel that you can't put down these gifts, you can give them to the people below. Yun Luofeng raised the corner of his lips. I believe that after accepting these gifts, the people below will work even harder. Chapter 1097. The corners of Greenwood's mouth twitched. Yun Luofeng's plan was quite good. Using someone else's gift to sell favors, if those people found out, their intestines would definitely turn green. Greenwood, Guyang. Yun Luofeng looked at the two old men in front of him and raised his eyebrows. Now that the medical tower's power is growing, it's time for me to unify Endless City. Unify Endless City? All the elders looked at Yun Luofeng in astonishment. Her goal was to unify Endless City? Greenwood hesitated. Tower Lord, the three great families' most powerful experts have all broken through to the Holy Spirit stage. I'm afraid it won't be so easy to unify Endless City. In this world, there's nothing that's impossible. So what if it's difficult? Since I, Yun Luofeng, have said it, I'll definitely do it. At this moment, the young girl straightened her back and her hair flew in the wind, looking absolutely beautiful. Her words were filled with confidence, causing everyone's hearts to involuntarily tremble. Greenwood, send an invitation to the three great families and invite them to the medical tower. Tower Lord, what do you want to do? Greenwood asked in confusion. Yun Luofeng smiled wickedly. You'll know when the time comes. Looks like the medical tower is going to do something big. Within the Nangong family, after receiving the invitation, Nangong Qing tightly gripped the invitation in his hands, a look of deep thought on his face. I wonder what the medical tower wants to do by inviting our Nangong family? To establish our might? Master, it's said that the medical tower's Tower Lord is mysterious and unfathomable. Perhaps it's time for us to investigate her. This time, many families have gone to the medical tower to poach people. They must have angered the medical tower, causing them to send an invitation. All the elders chimed in one after another, intensely discussing it. Nangong Qing remained expressionless, but his tightly furrowed brows carried a trace of worry. After a while he relaxed his brows. Go inform the young master and young Mississippi. When the time comes, the two of them will come with me. Yes, master. The guard next to him immediately echoed, cupped his fists respectfully, and retreated. Nangong Qing placed the invitation on the table. His eyes filled with a mysterious light. I really want to know the expressions of the O and Wu clans after they receive the invitation. At this moment in the O clan, the middle-aged man fiercely smashed the invitation in his hand on the table. His complexion was ashen as he angrily said, "What does the Tower Lord of the Medical Tower mean? He came to the Endless City and didn't even pay a visit to our O clan. Instead, he sent such an invitation. Especially the content of this invitation. It's simply intolerable." "Oh, you didn't say anything." She bent down and picked up the post. There were a few lines of golden words written on the post. "At noon, the medical tower invites everyone to come. If you do not attend, someone from the medical tower will personally come to invite you. If you still insist on not going, my medical tower can only use force." "What do you mean by force?" This was obviously a blatant threat. "Father." A cold light flashed across Oye's eyes and she laughed silently. "I find this medical tower very interesting. Why don't we make a trip there? I want to see with my own eyes what kind of person the tower master of this medical tower is." The middle-aged man sneered. "There's no one who can threaten my O clan. Even a medical tower dares to be so savage. This is intolerable bullying. I won't swallow this insult." Once he arrives at the medical tower, he will fiercely vent his resentment. He will make those people understand that they can provoke anyone but the O clan. Chapter 1098. At the same time, a storm was stirring in the Wu family. Master Wu sat upright in the luxurious and exquisite hall with a stern expression on his face. He looked around at the crowd and asked in a deep voice, "What do you think of the medical tower's actions?" The medical tower's actions had affected the situation in Endless City. Perhaps the arrival of the medical tower would also break the balance of power between the three powers. This was something he did not wish to see happen. "Master, I think we should accept the medical tower's invitation first and meet the medical tower's tower master to see what he wants." A gloomy look flashed across the Wu family's elder's eyes and he smiled eerily. "Besides, we can also take this opportunity to investigate the medical tower's power. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will always be victorious." Master Wu slammed the table and stood up. "All right, go and get ready. I will head to the medical tower in a moment." West City. Compared to the other districts, it was quite run down and desolate. Even the people from other forces were unwilling to step into this place, let alone the nobles of the three big clans. However, West City was particularly lively now. Not only were there countless experts who had come to seek medical advice, but even the people from the three big clans had also arrived in carriages. Especially since the clan leaders of the three big clans had come. Therefore, the entire West City was shocked. Countless commoners had come out to watch and curiously looked at the luxurious carriages driving on the road. Unfortunately, these nobles had always been domineering. When they saw that these commoners had actually dared to watch from the side, they immediately flew into a rage. A guard stepped out and pointed at a young girl standing in the middle of the road. He shouted in a stern voice, "Can't you see that the O family is here? How dare you block the way in the middle of the road? Get lost." The young girl was about 3 or 4 years old and she was holding a lollipop in her hand. When she heard the guard's angry shout, her little red face was filled with confusion. She clearly did not understand what the guard meant. The guard scoffed coldly. "I have already warned you. You're courting death." The carriage driver did not stop because of the young girl standing in front of him. Instead, he sped up and rushed over. The young girl blinked her big bright eyes and looked curiously at the rushing carriage. Perhaps she had never seen such a luxurious carriage in her life. "Watch out!" The crowd screamed in fear when they saw that the carriage was about to reach the little girl. The little girl's parents, who were selling candied fruits, subconsciously turned their heads when they heard the crowd's screams. Then, they saw a scene that made his heart beat faster. He wanted to rush over to save his daughter, but it was too late. He could only watch helplessly as the carriage rushed over to her. Bang! Just as the carriage was about to break through the little girl's body, a sharp sword light slashed down from the sky, striking the carriage's cabin. With a single slash, the carriage's cabin was split into two. "Who dares to sneak attack my O clan?" A middle-aged man dressed in brocade robes walked out from the carriage. His figure was in a rather sorry state, but he did not lose his imposing manner. His gaze, which was as sharp as a knife, stared straight at the man and woman who had walked out from behind the little girl. The man was handsome and cold. His gaze was piercingly cold. He held a long sword in his hand and his cold gaze landed on the middle-aged man. Chapter 1099. The woman standing next to her had a delicate and pretty appearance. Her expressive eyes shone brightly as she looked at the middle-aged man. She then turned around and walked towards the little girl who was sprawled on the ground in fear. "Are you all right?" She gently helped the little girl up from the ground. Her clear and melodious voice miraculously soothed the little girl's frightened heart. "You honor." The little girl's parents hurriedly ran over. Their faces were pale and they had yet to recover from their fright. When they saw that their daughter was safe and sound, they turned towards the green-robed woman and knelt down gratefully. "Thank you, miss, for saving my daughter." The woman smiled. "I'm sorry. Because of our medical tower, we've brought you trouble. If we hadn't invited these people, your daughter wouldn't have been in danger. So saving you is what I should do." She then slowly turned around and walked to the side of the handsome man. Her clear and melodious voice gradually took on a strong tone. "My young lady has ordered that anyone who enters the West City must walk." The O family's master's expression changed and a fierce look flashed in his eyes. "What does the medical tower mean by this? How dare you order us to walk into the West City? You've all seen it for yourself. Because of your rampage, you've nearly harmed an innocent little girl. Therefore, if you continue to drive the carriages, you're not allowed to step into the West City. We must be responsible for the safety of the commoners in the West City." A show of strength? The O family's master narrowed his eyes and a murderous intent flickered in them. The medical tower had given them a show of strength as soon as they arrived. Impudent! The O family's bodyguard saw Qing Yan's rude words and immediately shouted angrily, "You're only a dog of the medical tower. What right do you have to speak to my master like that? Besides, the lives of these lowly commoners aren't worth mentioning. So what if they die? At worst, we'll just have to compensate them with a few gold coins." Qing Yan's heart was filled with rage. She snorted coldly and said expressionlessly, "My young lady's orders must be carried out. If you dare to step forward, I won't let you take another step forward." Whoosh! Just as Qing Yan had spoken, countless gold-seeking mice swarmed into the street from all directions. The gold-seeking mice squeaked as they stared vigilantly at the people from the big families. "Milk Tea Rat Empress, if anyone dares to take a step forward with the carriage, kill them without mercy." While everyone was stunned, they saw two people walking over from the back of the gold-seeking rats. Amongst these two people, one of them was a youth that still had a childish air. His figure was tall and slender, and he had red lips and white teeth, causing others to be unable to part with him at first sight. The other person was a graceful and luxurious imperial concubine. Her aura was so imposing that even the empress of the empire would not be able to tolerate her. She was noble and arrogant, a motherly model of the world. No, that's not right. There's something wrong with the aura of these two people. The O clan's clan master was the first to regain his senses. His complexion turned extremely unsightly. They're spirit beasts. Milk Tea and his subordinates were not like fire. Fire could control his own chi at any time. No matter how strong a person was, he would not be able to sense their identity. However, the two of them hadn't been in human form for long, so they hadn't learned how to stop their auras from leaking out. As a result, it was very easy for powerhouses to see through them. Spirit beast? How could this be? Are these two spiritual beasts? And these gold-seeking rats? Heavens, their strength is actually above that of a celestial spirit practitioner. Are they still gold-seeking rats? Chapter 1100. Everyone knew that gold-seeking mice would never achieve much even if they spent their entire lives. However, what they saw today had completely overturned their understanding. The members of the Nangong family were the first to alight from their carriages and slowly walked towards Yiling and Qing Yan. However, at this moment, no one noticed that after Nangong Uni saw Qing Yan and the others, he was already completely stunned. Others may not recognize Qing Yan and the others, but he, who often visited Yun Luofeng, must have seen them before. Nangong Uni slapped his head fiercely as he looked at Qing Yan and the others in astonishment. He did not understand why these people were here. Could it be that Yun Luofeng was related to the medical tower? Young lady, please lead the way. Nangongqing's face lit up with a smile. Although he was very dissatisfied with the medical tower's actions, it would not be a wise choice to refuse them now. Everything should be done with the overall situation in mind. Also, Qing Yan smiled and continued, our young lady has ordered that everyone else must wait outside, except for the masters and young ladies of the major families. The complexion of the O clan's clan lord changed. Don't go too far. Qing Yan glanced at him and smiled faintly. What? Could it be that the O clan's clan lord thinks that our medical tower will harm you? Moreover, if we really wanted to harm you, how could these guards stop us? However, our medical tower is too small and can't accommodate so many people. We can only make them wait outside. Father. Seeing that Master O was about to explode, Oya hurriedly pulled his sleeve and whispered, it's useless to bring these guards along. Why don't we leave them here? Besides, I'm sure that the medical tower will not harm us. Master O scoffed coldly as his narrowed eyes flashed with a cold light. The medical tower will regret today's decision. Let's go. He fiercely flung his sleeves and walked into the western city. Father, mother. After the O family had left, the little girl's confused face finally showed some reaction. Her childish voice slowly rang out in the quiet street. The people of the medical tower are so impressive. When I grow up, I want to join the medical tower. A seed had already been planted in this little girl's heart, and she had been working hard towards this goal for the next 10 years. It was also because of this sudden incident that her life had changed. The medical tower was eerily quiet. Everyone was engrossed in their work, and no one even went to greet the people from the three families. Finally, the people from the three great clans could not help but ask, we've been here for almost 16 hours. When will your pavilion master come out? Just wait. The young man replied without raising his head. Do you think our pagoda master is as free as you? Once the pagoda master is done with his work, he will come to see you. The O clan's master's complexion sank once again, but it wasn't good for him to lose his temper. So, he could only tightly hold the chair's handle in order to vent his anger. Time passed by slowly, and the O clan's master's patience had been worn out. He heavily slammed his palm on the table with a bang, and shouted in a cold and angry voice, tell your tower master to come see me immediately. Unfortunately, no one paid any attention to him. Everyone buried their heads in their work, not even sparing him a glance. Patriarch Wu and Nangongqing's expressions were also not very good. They were the patriarchs of the three great clans, yet this medical tower dared to put on such airs and make them wait here. Chapter 1101. Only Nangong Yuni leisurely tasted the tea in his hand. From time to time, he would glance at the few people who were about to flip out. The corners of his mouth could not help but curl into a smile. These old fellows have always been tyrannical in Endless City. They should be humiliated. However, the tower master of the medical tower behaves like Yun Luofeng. Thinking of Qing Yan and the others, Nangong Yuni slightly narrowed his eyes. A light flashed in his eyes and he silently smiled. At this moment, he really wanted to meet the tower master of the medical tower to confirm his suspicions. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps was heard from the stairs. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound. Suddenly, a beautiful figure appeared in front of everyone. The young girl's clothes were whiter than snow. She was devastatingly beautiful. The corners of her lips were slightly raised into a lazy smile. Her gloomy black eyes slowly swept across everyone present. So, you really are from the medical tower. Oya slowly got up and her elegant gaze fell on Yun Luofeng. It's good that you're here. Please help me pass a message to the tower master of the medical tower. I hope that he will come to see us. From the beginning, Oya had never connected Yun Luofeng's identity with the medical tower. Even though they had heard that the tower master of the medical tower was a young woman. However, Yun Luofeng was ridiculously young. How could he have achieved so much at such a young age? Is she the woman you were talking about? Patriarch O coldly glanced at Yun Luofeng and sneered. I know the truth. The medical tower gave her some conditions to make her reject our O family's invitation. Perhaps she doesn't know that her refusal has cost her an opportunity to enter the sunshine. Whoosh! In an instant, the people of the medical tower, who had been working hard, turned their gazes towards Patriarch O. The emotions in their eyes were very complicated. Sympathy, ridicule, or perhaps pity. Patriarcho felt their gazes and his expression became even more unsightly. He coldly stared at Yun Luofeng. What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and help us call the tower master of the medical tower. Could it be that she wants so many of us to wait here for her alone? Yun Luofeng seemed to not have heard him and walked down the stairs. Her footsteps were very light, but each step heavily landed on everyone's hearts. The O clan's anger soared to the heavens. Didn't you hear what I said? The people of this medical tower were really lazy and ill-mannered. Only the medical tower would accept people like you. My O clan won't accept you even if your medical skills are brilliant. A murderous intent flashed across his eyes. Just as he had said to Oya, he would have no choice but to eradicate Yun Luofeng if she wasn't willing to join the O clan. At this moment, the gazes of the people from the medical tower had changed from the initial sympathy to cold mockery. Idiot! In the end, a young man couldn't control himself and coldly spat out these two words. The O clan's master slammed his hand on the table again and angrily said, "Is this how the medical tower treats its guests? Even some servants dared to offend their superiors. He would have been killed if this had happened in my O clan." No one paid attention to the O clan master. They all turned to Yun Luofeng and respectfully said, "Welcome, Tower Master." What? Pagoda Master? The O clan's master's complexion changed from anger to shock. Then it turned deathly pale as he stared at Yun Luofeng in astonishment. Is she the Tower Master of the medical tower? Impossible. Chapter 1102. This was impossible. There must be a mistake somewhere. How could the Tower Master of the medical tower be so young? Yun Luofeng. Oya quickly stood up and clenched her fists tightly. You're the Tower Master of the medical tower? Why didn't you tell me before? Are you purposely making fun of me? Yun Luofeng's evil eyes swept over Oya. The corners of her lips curled up slightly. Did you ask about my identity? Indeed, when Oya had gone to find Yun Luofeng, she had insisted that she had joined the medical tower. However, from start to finish, she had never asked about her identity. Bang! Oya's legs gave way and she sat down. Her body trembled slightly as she looked at Yun Luofeng with hatred in her eyes. Nangong Lan was also stunned. She had never thought that the woman she looked down on was actually the Tower Master of the medical tower, who had caused a sensation during this period of time. No wonder. No wonder Nangong Uni knew medicine. It was actually related to the medical tower. Nangong Lan's eyelids drooped slightly, concealing the anger and murderous intent in her eyes. If she had known that Nangong Uni was related to the medical tower, she would have disregarded everything and killed him back then. Yun Luofeng, you even hid such an important matter from me? Although she had already guessed this, Nangong Uni's heart was filled with complicated emotions after verifying her guess. She stared resentfully at Yun Luofeng. You didn't ask me. Yun Luofeng paused, then continued. Furthermore, you described me as a demon. How could I tell you about this matter? Nangong Uni's eyes were filled with hidden bitterness. Her expression made Yun Luofeng's hair stand on end. It was as if she was a scoundrel who had abandoned her wife and son. Miss Yun. After seeing Yun Luofeng, Nangong Qing was shocked at first. However, he quickly recovered and asked with a smile, May I know why you've come to the three great clans? Yun Luofeng flung her sleeves and sat down. Her body leaned lazily against the back of the chair. Her pitch-black eyes contained a trace of a smile. You should be very clear why I've asked you to come. Yun Luofeng smiled. The situation of the three great clans in Endless City should be broken. The complexion of the O clan's master changed. You mean? I want this Endless City to belong to me. You can only obey me. Those who resist will die. Yun Luofeng's tone was very light, and his demonic voice surged with arrogance and domineeringness. Those who obey me shall prosper. Those who oppose me shall perish. Ha ha ha. Patriarch Wu laughed out loud. Yun Luofeng, are you joking with us? Obey you? Why? Yun Luofeng's evil eyes landed on clan head Wu. Then she slowly raised her hand. I have the ability to make sure that you won't be able to leave this place. Boom! A huge force slashed down from above. When family head Wu raised his head, what he saw was a bright red flame. The red flames were so dazzling that he couldn't even open his eyes. It was also at this moment that a surge of energy entered his body. With a boom, his body flew backward and crashed onto the ground. He coughed up a mouthful of bright red blood. Standing in front of everyone was a little girl. She looked like she was carved from jade and was very cute. Her bright eyes were full of smiles and her little face was radiant. However, no matter how cute this little girl was, fear still rose in everyone's hearts. Furthermore, Patriarcho subconsciously moved his chair back a few steps. Chapter 1103. Who else wants to provoke my master? Fire raised his eyebrows, his domineering eyes looked around at the people present. His cute little face raised into an evil smile. Yun Luofeng's posture was lazy, her left hand supporting her face. Her evil eyes glanced at the ugly face of the O family head. Do you want to obey or resist? The O family head's face darkened. You should give us some time to think about it. All right. This time Yun Luofeng was very easy to talk to, and readily agreed to the O family head. The O family head slowly breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. As long as Yun Luofeng gave them a buffer time, when the three great families joined forces, the medical tower would definitely not be their match. 1. Just as he was fantasizing, the girl's voice gradually sounded. 2. The O family head was stunned for a moment. He looked up at Yun Luofeng with a confused expression, not knowing what she was thinking. 3. As the last number fell, Yun Luofeng sat up straight, smiled and asked, I have already given you 3 seconds, I don't know what you think. You. The O family head's face was ashen, his eyes were spitting fire. In such a short period of time, how can we think about it? You should let us go back first, then we can discuss this matter. Fire. Yun Luofeng crossed his legs, his hand landed on his knee, lightly tapping. Those who obey me will prosper, those who oppose me will die. If anyone resists, kill without mercy. After the 3 words kill without mercy fell, the whole ground shook. Immediately, the O family head saw fire appear out of thin air in front of him, fiercely lifted his body, and then threw him out. This time, the O family head was thrown to the point of vomiting blood, extremely embarrassed. I will give you one more chance, what do you think? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows, looking at the several family heads with a smile that was not a smile. Nan Gongqing pondered for a moment, then said, Miss Yun, I know you are Er's friend, I don't know if you can give me this face? If you want to rule the other families, we won't stop you, but the matter of the 3 great families, I didn't ask you to come here to discuss with you. I'm just informing you of my decision. The girl's voice was very forceful, so forceful that she could not be refused. Besides, my patience is limited. If you don't agree, I won't let you leave the western city. It was only at this moment that the patriarchs of the various families felt regret. The medical tower's invitation was clearly a trap. The funny thing was that they had not taken the medical tower seriously in the beginning, so much so that they had attended the banquet alone. Nan Gongqing's eyes slightly sank. He glanced at Nan Gongyuni and said, Oh, your relationship isn't bad. Why don't you say a few words? Nan Gongyuni turned his head, as if he hadn't heard Nan Gongqing's words. You haven't decided yet? Yun Luofeng raised his leg and flicked his sleeves. His demonic eyes contained a biting cold light. Since that's the case, then... Wait. Nan Gongqing suddenly spoke, stopping Yun Luofeng. He wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead and said, Miss Yun, I am willing to obey. A wise man submits to circumstances. Nan Gongqing could clearly feel the power contained in Fire's body. This little girl's strength was definitely not simple. Even if all of them joined forces, they might not be her match. Nangong family head, you are too inferior. Wu family head sneered at Nan Gongqing. You agreed after being threatened by a woman? I would never. Ah. Chapter 1104. Before he finished speaking, a piercing pain came from Patriarch Wu's body. It was so painful that he couldn't help but scream, and his body trembled uncontrollably. Bang! At the same time, a powerful force came from the front. His body was once again thrown out, and he fell to the ground in a sorry state. Yun Luofeng retracted his hand, and looked at the others with an evil smile. What about you guys? Do you have any objections to obeying me? No. No objections. Patriarcho swallowed his saliva. His eyes were filled with fear. He didn't even understand how Yun Luofeng had made his move, and Patriarch Wu had already been beaten to the ground by him. Therefore, he didn't dare to resist anymore. Very good. Yun Luofeng raised his lips. In order to control you, I have a few poisons here. If you take them, I'll let you go. Yun Luofeng. Patriarcho clenched his fists tightly, and said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. We don't need to take this poison, right? Who knows if you've poisoned it, and we'll die immediately. Yun Luofeng didn't say anything, and gave Fire a meaningful look. Fire understood her meaning, and stepped forward to take the poison, and personally fed it to the three patriarchs. Her actions were very rough. She directly grabbed the other party's chin, and forcefully pried open their mouths. Then she forcefully stuffed it in, and poured a bowl of water down. All right, you can leave now. Yun Luofeng flicked his sleeves and sat down. He rested his chin on his hand and looked at Nangong Uni with a smile. Nangong, you stay. I have something to say. Hearing this, Nangong Uni, who was about to leave, stopped and turned to look at Yun Luofeng. The people from the three great families had already left in a hurry. Therefore, in the entire medical tower, other than Yun Luofeng's people, only Nangong Uni remained. Nangong, do you think my actions are too cruel? Yun Luofeng raised his head to look at Nangong Uni and asked. Nangong Uni laughed. I only remember what you said to me not long ago. You fought so hard for the sake of survival. So you didn't do anything wrong. Yun Luofeng, no matter what, I will stand by your side. Even if the whole world hates you, I will still accompany you. Just now I gave your father a tonic. Yun Luofeng stretched lazily and stood up from his chair. Because he is your father, I will not feed him poison, but I also do not trust him, so I used that tonic to disguise it as poison. If you think he is trustworthy, you can tell him about this. She did not trust Nangong Qing, but she believed in Nangong Uni. If Nangong Uni believed that Nangong Qing was reliable, she wouldn't mind him telling him about this matter. Moreover, he couldn't harm Nangong Qing out of respect for Nangong Uni, unless the other party attacked her first. Yun Luofeng, you've done the right thing. Nangong Qing is very selfish, he's not worthy of your trust. Nangong Uni laughed bitterly. Don't think that he's usually very concerned about me. In reality, it's because I'm the only male in the Nangong family. If he gives birth to another son, he'll immediately abandon me. This is a selfish man. How could such a selfish person be trusted? But I still thank you. Nangong Uni looked seriously at Yun Luofeng. He thanked her not because Yun Luofeng let Nangong Qing go, but because she did it for him. This affection was worth keeping for his entire life. Nangong, after you return to the Nangong family, you must be careful. Yun Luofeng lightly narrowed his eyes. I'm worried that those people will attack you. Chapter 1105. Nangong Uni nodded. I understand. Don't worry, I will pay attention to my safety. Also, the most powerful people in the three aristocratic families are not the family heads. Yun Luofeng didn't comment. She already knew what Nangong Uni was talking about. It was rumored that the three aristocratic families were guarded by Holy Spirit practitioners. However, the three family heads were only at the Venerable Spirit realm. Therefore, there must be someone even more powerful behind the three aristocratic families. Okay, I got it. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. A cold light flashed in them. If they dare to cause trouble for me, I will make sure they never return. Nangong Uni shook his head helplessly. He looked at Yun Luofeng one last time, then turned and left. After he left, Qing Yan and Yiling walked to Yun Luofeng's side and respectfully called out, Master. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and looked at the two. What's the matter? Qing Yan nodded. Miss Lin went out. What did you say? Yun Luofeng's eyes suddenly narrowed. I ordered that the medical tower will not be peaceful these days. No one is allowed to go out. Who let Xiaobai go out? Even if she controlled the family heads of the three aristocratic families, there was someone even more powerful behind the three aristocratic families. For safety's sake, she had warned the people of the medical tower that without her orders, no one was allowed to take a step out. But Lin Ruobai actually went out? Qing Yan wiped the cold sweat from her forehead. Miss, when you gave the order, Miss Lin wasn't in the medical tower. In addition, the people from the three aristocratic families are about to arrive. I forgot to tell Miss Lin, so Miss Lin doesn't know that the situation is very dangerous now. Yun Luofeng's expression darkened. There was a storm in his eyes. Thump. Qing Yan knelt in front of Yun Luofeng. Miss, this is my fault. I forgot to tell Miss Lin. I am willing to accept punishment. Yun Luofeng looked at Qing Yan. This has nothing to do with you. Get up. I was not considerate. Now all of you stay in the medical tower. I will go find her. Then the young girl's figure turned into a breeze and quickly disappeared from the medical tower. On the street, the girl held a drumstick in her left hand and a stick of candied hawthorn in her right hand. There was a stain on the corner of her mouth and a bright smile on her cute little face. Master, we've been out for a long time. Shouldn't we go back? Beside her, a spirit beast that looked like a magnificent peacock followed closely. Its arrogant eyes were filled with helplessness as it looked at the young girl. Qing Luan. Suddenly, the young girl stopped in her tracks and frowned slightly. Her bright big eyes looked towards a medicine shop in front of her. I keep feeling that there is something in this shop that attracts me. Qing Luan was taken aback, and when he regained his senses, Lin Ruobai had already stepped into the medicine shop. After entering the medicinal herb store, Lin Ruobai's gaze swept across the area and landed on a withered tree at the corner. The tree was very small, only reaching her waist. Most of the leaves had fallen, and there was a faint smell of death. That's right, it was indeed the aura of death. But for some reason, Lin Ruobai had a feeling that if he gave this withered tree to Yun Luofeng would definitely like it. Boss, how much is this tree? Lin Ruobai pointed at the withered tree and asked. When the boss saw Lin Ruobai's determined look, he was excited. Originally, he was still thinking about how to sell this tree cheaply. He didn't expect a sucker to come so quickly. Chapter 1106. Thinking of this, the boss coughed twice. This tree has some history, so it's worth a lot. If you need it, give me 10,000 taels and I'll sell it to you. A cold light flashed in Qing Luan's eyes. This withered tree was casually thrown in a corner, so it was obviously not valued. How dare he offer such a high price now? He was just about to bargain when Lin Ruobai took out a stack of banknotes and threw it in front of the boss. I'll buy this tree. If Qing Luan could transform into a human, perhaps Lin Ruobai could see his face as black as the bottom of a pot. She had seen stupid people, but never to this extent. Wasn't her master too silly? The boss was obviously tricking her, and she was foolishly tricked. But seeing Lin Ruobai's excited look, Qing Luan couldn't bear to mock her. Lin Ruobai hugged the withered tree and walked out of the medicine shop excitedly. She hadn't walked much when she bumped into the people from the 3 aristocratic families. She saw Nangong Lan from the 3 aristocratic families at a glance, and a look of surprise flashed across her eyes. Strange, these people seemed to come from the west of the city. Did they go to find trouble with Master? The more Lin Ruobai thought about it, the more uneasy she felt. She wanted to leave quickly, but Nangong Lan glanced at her and shouted, "Stop!" Hearing this, Lin Ruobai didn't even stop and quickly rushed to the west of the city. "Laner, do you know her?" Nangong Qing glanced at Lin Ruobai and asked in a low voice, "Father, do you remember that your daughter's spirit beast was snatched by Yun Luofeng? That spirit beast is beside this woman." Nangong Lan took a deep breath. This woman is Yun Luofeng's disciple. Nangong Qing was stunned and subconsciously looked at Lin Ruobai. "Miss Nangong, is what you said true?" Master Wu laughed. "It's really a case of wearing out iron shoes in vain, finding it effortlessly. I didn't expect that we would meet Yun Luofeng's disciple here. In my opinion, we should capture this woman and force Yun Luofeng to hand over the antidote." The O family's master sneered. "I don't think that Yun Luofeng will hand over the antidote for a disciple. After all, compared to power, a disciple is more important." "That might not be the case." Nangong Lan curled her lips. "Yun Luofeng loves this disciple very much, otherwise he wouldn't have stolen my spiritual beast. Therefore, I feel that Patriarch Wu's method is feasible." "Father, don't you want to cure the poison? As long as you get rid of the poison, you won't need to be afraid of Yun Luofeng anymore." Nangong Qing was silent. He knew that what his daughter said made sense. As long as the poison was cured, he would no longer have to be controlled by Yun Luofeng. "Stop." While Nangong Qing was still thinking, the people from the Wu and O families had already started to move. They surrounded Lin Ruobai and said with a sneer, "Miss, please come with us." Lin Ruobai took 2 steps back. "Why?" "Because you are Yun Luofeng's disciple," the O clan's master bellowed. His fist was wrapped in a layer of swift and fierce wind, and he quickly arrived in front of Lin Ruobai. "Master, be careful." Seeing this, the blue wand's body flashed and blocked in front of Lin Ruobai. It opened its mouth and let out a cry. Under that cry, the O clan's master's movements paused. At this moment, the blue wand launched its attack. "This spiritual beast is in the venerable realm?" Nan Gongqing narrowed his eyes and muttered to himself. Chapter 1107. Nan Gonglan was filled with regret when she saw the blue wand's power. She never expected that the bird would have the power of a venerable one. If she had known, she would not have given it to Yun Luofeng. That's right. In Nan Gonglan's heart, Yun Luofeng only had the chance to obtain this spiritual beast because she had given it to him. "Let's attack together and subdue this spiritual beast." Master Wu looked at Nan Gongqing and said. Nan Gongqing sighed helplessly and finally joined the battle. No matter how powerful a spiritual beast was, it could not possibly deal with opponents of similar power at the same time. Hence, after a few rounds, she had already fallen into a disadvantageous position. Lin Ruobai hugged the tree in her arms tightly and stared vigilantly at the people from the 3 great families. She carefully retreated, but there was already an ice-cold wall behind her. She had nowhere to retreat to. "Is that thing in your arms very important to you?" Nan Gonglan glanced at Lin Ruobai's cautious movements and asked with a cold smile. Lin Ruobai's body stiffened and she hugged the tree even tighter. This was a gift she had given to her master. She could not give it to these people. "All of you attack. Capture that damned girl and crush the thing in her arms." Nan Gonglan raised her hand and ordered coldly. In an instant, the people from the Nangong family pulled out their weapons and swiftly attacked Lin Ruobai. When the blue wand saw that Lin Ruobai was in danger, it instantly let out an angry cry. It wanted to get rid of these people and save Lin Ruobai as soon as possible. Unfortunately, these people surrounded it from both sides and prevented it from reaching Lin Ruobai's side. "Master, quickly escape. Quickly find Sir Luofeng and leave." The blue wand's expression was filled with sorrow and its crisp voice was filled with despair. At this moment, the guards arrived in front of Lin Ruobai. Lin Ruobai hugged the withered tree tightly and leaned to the side to avoid the fierce attacks. Because she was hugging a tree, she could not use her hands to attack and could only dodge the weapons. A guard took advantage of Lin Ruobai's dodging and snatched the withered tree from her hands. He threw it fiercely on the ground and stabbed the withered tree with his sword. "No!" Lin Ruobai's tearing voice echoed through the entire street. She charged towards the guard as if she had gone mad. "Give it back to me, give it back to me." Bang! Unknowingly, Nan Gonglan had appeared beside her and kicked her waist, sending her body flying. Lin Ruobai spat out a mouthful of blood and stared at Nan Gonglan with bloodshot eyes. If it was in the past, Nan Gonglan would not be able to hurt her. But now Lin Ruobai's mind was already filled with rage, to the extent that he couldn't see Nan Gonglan's movements. "Since you like this tree, I'll destroy it." Nan Gonglan sneered, and a fireball gradually rose from her hand. "Destroyed?" Lin Ruobai's pupils constricted when he heard this. At the same time, Nan Gonglan's fireball was already flying towards the withered tree. "No!" Lin Ruobai suddenly got up from the ground and quickly dashed towards the withered tree. The moment the fireball entered the withered tree, she raised her hand and pulled the withered tree into her embrace. Damn you! No one could touch what she wanted to give to her master. Nan Gonglan was a little surprised. She looked at Lin Ruobai in shock. She seemed to have discovered something unbelievable as her eyes widened in shock. Chapter 1108. You're an advanced heavenly spiritualist? Advanced heavenly spiritualist? The people around Yun Luofeng were all so abnormal? If not for Lin Ruobai's mind being on the withered tree, she would not have been able to sneak an attack on her. "This withered tree is a gift from me to master. You actually want to destroy it, you deserve to die." Boom! Lin Ruobai's killing intent surged, powerful spiritual energy spiraled above her head, forming a whirlpool. "Elder!" Nan Gonglan felt Lin Ruobai's aura and her expression changed. "Save me!" This time, not only did the Nangong family's elder move, Even the people from the other two families collectively attacked Lin Ruobai. Poof! A fist suddenly landed on Lin Ruobai's back. Her body quickly moved forward. A mouthful of blood sprayed out, dyeing the front of her clothes red. These elders' strength was also at the venerable realm, and with so many of them, no matter how strong Lin Ruobai was, she would not be able to deal with so many elders. So she only used all her strength to protect the withered tree in her arms. At this moment there were already many people surrounding them. They did not know what had happened. Their expressions were full of doubt. In order to protect her image, Nangong Lan cleared her throat and said, "Everyone, this girl is a servant of our Nangong family, and now she has stolen our Nangong family's wealth, so I specially came here to chase after her. So that's how it is." Hearing this, everyone came to a realization, and looked at Lin Ruobai with eyes full of contempt. "This little girl is quite pretty. I never thought that she would do such a thing, Tiske. You really don't know a person's face. She even dared to steal things from the Nangong family. Is she tired of living? This kind of thief should be cut into pieces, and die without a complete corpse." These people's words were like a sword, ruthlessly stabbing into Lin Ruobai's heart. She wanted to defend herself, but in order to protect the withered tree, she had already used up all her strength, to the point that she did not even have the strength to speak. The blue luan finally fell in front of her. The gorgeous feather tail became tattered, full of wounds. Bright red blood pierced into Lin Ruobai's eyes, causing her eyes to gradually turn blood red. "I don't think there's any need for you to keep this tree." Nangong Lan walked in front of Lin Ruobai, and tried her best to take away the withered tree from Lin Ruobai's hands. However, even after using all her strength, she was still unable to take away her beloved treasure. "Someone help me cut off this woman's hand. I want to see if she will let go," Nangong Lan said angrily. "Yes, young miss." Hearing this, two people immediately stepped forward with their swords. The sharp blades of their swords shone brightly under the direct sunlight. The green phoenix struggled to open its eyes and looked at the dazed Lin Ruobai. Its lips moved slightly. "Quickly escape, master, quickly escape." Lin Ruobai stared at the green phoenix in a daze. The red light in his eyes was reflected, as bewitching as the color of blood. She muttered to herself, her expression as dull as ever. "Those who want to steal my gift to master deserve to die. Those who hurt Blue Luan deserve to die. Therefore these people should all die here." Boom! A wave of monstrous power surged out from Lin Ruobai's body. In that instant a violent gust of wind blew, and the sun and moon lost their color. Lin Ruobai stood in the wind, her cute and exquisite little face expressionless. Her blood-red eyes stared coldly at the group of people in front of her. Chapter 1109. Oh no! Nangong Qing's expression changed when he sensed the aura surging from Xiao Bai's body. He quickly shouted, "Hurry up and stop her or it'll be too late." All of a sudden, everyone rushed towards Whitey. Their bodies were like sharp blades, killing without leaving a trace. Lin Ruobai's blood-red eyes were calm and emotionless as she stared coldly at the people charging at her. The storm above her head did not dissipate. Instead, it grew even more violent. A strong gust of wind appeared around her, causing her hair to dance wildly in the wind. Her childish face was delicate and adorable, but it was not as lively as before. Instead, it was so cold that it made people tremble in fear. The moment Nangong Qing and the others reached her, the aura from her body swept out like an explosion. In an instant, those people were sent flying and fell to the ground pathetically. Nangong Qing raised his head in shock. When he saw the young lady's green clothes, his eyes were filled with panic and fear. Demon! Indeed, in their eyes, Lin Ruobai was like a bloodthirsty demon. It was as if she had lost her mind and only knew how to kill. "Run!" Nangong Qing and the others looked at each other, then turned around and fled. The only thing they could do now was to go back and ask for reinforcements. "Master!" Qing Luan looked at Lin Ruobai in a daze. For some reason, the young lady gave him a strange feeling. This feeling caused his heart to tremble uncontrollably. "All of you deserve to die." Lin Ruobai raised her hand. In an instant, a wave of energy shot out from her hand and hit an elder from the Nangong family. At that instant, everyone witnessed an unforgettable scene. A hole appeared in the elder's chest, but no blood flowed out. Then, the hole grew bigger and bigger until it gradually spread to the elder's entire body. In a flash, His body turned into ashes and dissipated into the air. He did not even have the chance to scream before he died. However, this elder was a venerable spiritualist. A venerable spiritualist could not even withstand a single blow from her? Nangonglan gulped and subconsciously took 2 steps back. Her pale face was filled with fear. She wanted to turn around and run away from this demon. However, at this moment, Lin Ruobai's gaze had already landed on her. "Father, save me!" Nangonglan cried out in panic. She was so anxious that tears almost flowed down her face. She had originally thought that her disciple, Yun Luofeng, was a pushover. Who would have thought that this woman's strength would suddenly increase to such a powerful level? If she had known this would happen, she would never have provoked her. Boom! Lin Ruobai's body suddenly disappeared into thin air. When she reappeared, she was already behind Nangonglan. She punched Nangonglan's back, sending her flying several meters away. She coughed up blood. She raised her head in fear and saw that Lin Ruobai had already walked in front of her. "You, don't kill me, I was wrong, please don't kill me." Nangonglan looked at Lin Ruobai with tears in her eyes, which were filled with fear and pleading. Clearly, the current Lin Ruobai was no different from a demon in her eyes. "Die!" Lin Ruobai raised her chin slightly and looked down at Nangonglan, who was lying on the ground. She raised her sword high in her hand and was about to fall. Nangonglan was so scared that her face turned pale. Boom! At this moment, several powerful auras came from not too far away, causing the originally dark and colorless sky to become even darker. Chapter 11:10. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The crowd was shocked by Lin Ruobai's actions. They quickly found a place to hide and observed the situation from afar. Suddenly, an elderly voice rang out in the sky, intimidating everyone. "Who dares to kill in my endless city?" The old man's voice was ethereal, but it was enough to shock everyone. It was as if a blow had struck their hearts, causing their souls to tremble. Slowly, several silhouettes appeared in the sky. They were all dressed in gray robes and had an ethereal air about them. Ancestral elders. The members of the 3 aristocratic families were overjoyed when they saw the elders. They never thought that the ancestral elders would find their way here so quickly. Ancestral elders? Among the onlookers, there were some who didn't understand and asked curiously, "Who are these ancestral elders? You probably don't know about this." One of the insiders smiled mysteriously. There have been many open and secret fights between the 3 aristocratic families over the years. However, none of them have suffered any losses. Do you know why? Why? The crowd grew even more curious. The person continued to smile. Because there's a hall of elders above the 3 aristocratic families. The elders in the hall are all members of the 3 aristocratic families. In other words, as long as someone from the 3 aristocratic families becomes a Holy Spirit, they can enter the Hall of Elders. Holy Spirit? The crowd turned pale with fright. They could not help but gasp as they looked at the elders in the sky. No wonder the 3 aristocratic families' status had been unshakable all these years. It turned out that there were more than 10 Holy Spirit cultivators above them. It was precisely because of these Holy Spirit cultivators that the 3 aristocratic families had not suffered any losses over the years. Lin Ruobai remained expressionless. He swung his sword down as if he had not heard the ancestral elder's words. "I told you to stop. Didn't you hear me?" The gray-robed elder flew into a rage. He quickly appeared in front of Lin Ruobai and raised his hand to block Lin Ruobai. Bang! A powerful aura erupted from the 2 of them, sweeping the surrounding stalls into the sky before smashing them down. Lin Ruobai took a few steps back and looked at the gray-robed elder expressionlessly. A red light flickered in his eyes. "All of you deserve to die." Her aura had not stopped since the beginning, and her strength was also increasing rapidly. If this continued, even if all the elders of the 3 great clans joined forces, they might not be able to defeat her. The gray-robed elder gritted his teeth and said to his colleague, "Let's kill this little girl before she completely turns into a demon and get rid of this evil for the people." As long as one reached the status of the gray-robed old man, they would pay more attention to their face. He wouldn't say that he wanted to kill Lin Ruobai because he was afraid of her growth. He would only tell everyone that he was getting rid of a scourge for the people. In an instant, All the old men floated in front of Lin Ruobai and surrounded her. Qing Wan supported her heavily injured body and climbed up. She shouted angrily, "You shameless old bastard, so many people bullying a little girl, do you still have any shame?" The gray-robed elder scoffed coldly and said mockingly, "I've already said that we're getting rid of a scourge for the people. This little girl is a scourge. If we don't kill her, the entire mainland will suffer. Therefore, for the sake of the people on the mainland, she must die." Qing Wan trembled with anger. She had never seen such a shameless person.